Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your indulgence. Thank you for your patience. Ran a little bit late in closed session, but we are now returning. So I'm calling back to order, and I would like to start with first student member Halbo reading a broadcast statement.
This meeting of the Sacramento City School Board is being recorded in its entirety and will be cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T UVerse. Today's meeting will air Monday, February 11th at noon, and Wednesday, February 13th at 6 p.m., and webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. We welcome members of the audience to address the board. Please complete a speaker form located in the back of the community room and give them to our communications representative along with any handouts you may have for the board prior to the conclusion of the item's presentation. Please speak into the microphone when addressing the board and state your name for the record. Please limit comments during public comment to items that are not on the agenda. If you do comment on an item that is on the agenda, we will ask that you please defer your comments until your item comes up on the agenda. Please also turn off your cell phones or place them on silent or vibrate.
Thank you, student member Halbo. The next item is the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Mohammed Khan, a junior at Arthur A. Benjamin Health Professions High School. Mr. Khan.
I pledge the allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands one nation, under God, indivisible, and justice for all.
Thank you. Please stay there. We'd like to present to you a certificate, and it will be presented to you by board member Lisa Morosky. Trustee Morosky?
Thank you, Vice President Wu. The question was asked, do great young men come to the Men's Leadership Academy, or does the Men's Leadership Academy make great young men? The answer to that question can be both in the case of the young men who participate, and certainly in the case of Mohammed Khan, who is here with us today. Ms. Marla Johnson, principal of Health Professions High School, says, Mohammed Khan has been a responsible member of the Health Professions High School community, earning solid grades, a 4.28 GPA, and having great character on campus and off. She is absolutely right. Mohammed Khan is a light to his world, both on and off campus. He's a very active member of his mosque. He also exhibits a strong sense of caring for his community, for the homeless, and for those less fortunate than himself. Mohammed has been a strong contributor to the Men's Leadership Academy and is willing to do whatever it takes to make the Men's Leadership Academy a successful program at Health Professions High School. This year, the Academy is focused on building a legacy at the school, and Mohammed will assist us in doing just that. It's an honor to work with such an awesome young man, and we know there is so much, much more to come from you. So thank you so much for being here today. And with that, I would ask you to stay at the podium, and if you'd like to make a comment, you're welcome to do so.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank all of you guys. And I couldn't have done this without a good support system that I had of school, family, coaches, friends. I couldn't have done it without them. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Khan, and go forward and do great things. Make us proud. Thank you. Moving on to item 5, announcements of actions taken in closed session. Counselor?
None, Mr. President Pro Tem.
Thank you. Agenda adoption is item 6. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda? I have a motion, a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 7, special presentations. The first is item 7.1, approve a resolution number 3049, recognition of National No One Eats Alone Day, which is February 15th, 2019. The item will be presented by me. Excuse me. No One Eats Alone Day is sponsored by Beyond Differences, a nonprofit founded by parents of Lily Smith, who was born with a craniofacial syndrome and was socially isolated during her middle school years. After Lily died at the age of 15 from medical complications associated with her syndrome, a group of her former classmates from the local community banded together to bring change to their schools. That small group has grown into thousands who support National No One Eats Alone Day. During lunch on February 15th, students can make a difference by ensuring that everybody is included at lunch. This program aligns with our district's extensive work to make our schools safer and healthier places for children to learn. Sac City Unified was one of the first districts in the region to pass a sweeping anti-bullying policy and employs a full-time bullying prevention specialist. Mr. Barrios, is anybody here to speak on behalf of, in recognition of National No One Eats Alone Day?
We have one public comment from Kenya Martinez.
Very good. Yes, after we have the discussion.
Good evening, members of the board. I just congratulate this district in implementing a bullying prevention program. It's especially dear to my heart as a parent and as a parent of a student with a disability. I would like for this program to continue throughout the district and that it be adopted not just at particular school sites, but at every school site, elementary, high school, middle school. So for our most vulnerable students, so I just encourage you to do your due diligence and make sure that no student actually eats alone. Thank you.
Thank you. No further public comment. May I have a motion to adopt this resolution? I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Student vote.
Well, wait till, oh, we haven't voted yet. I need a second first. May I have a second?
Second.
All right, student preferential vote?
Aye.
Thank you. All those others in favor of this resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. May I have, is anybody here from Beyond Differences? Do we have a whole bunch of, do we have children, Jessica? Bring them up.
We'll see what is here.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Bring them up.
I'm Luma, and I'm an 8th grader at Wolsey Wood.
I'm Myvi, and I'm an 8th grader at Wolsey Wood.
I'm Marcos, and I'm a 7th grader in Wolsey Wood.
I'm Win Shen, and I'm an 8th grader at Wolsey Wood.
And we're here to discuss No One Eats Alone Day on February 15th at lunch. So we're doing this to help students who are eating alone and don't have anyone to sit with or talk with, and we want to help them overcome those fears of speaking with people, so we'll be helping them.
We're doing this so none of bad mental health issues come up with our students and could lead to unexplainable stuff.
So last year, what we did was we went around during lunchtime and we spoke with students, and then we had our dance club do dance performance, and we also gave students treats.
This year, we're going to have music, and ASB members will be wearing their badges and walking around speaking with students who don't have anyone to sit with, and we're gonna just have fun with them. Marcos.
So this year we're trying to do is like talk to children, ask them questions, and after we're done asking questions, we're gonna give them fruit snacks for talking with us.
That it?
Thank you for
Well,
listening.
stay there. Member Garcia.
I'm just having technical difficulties, but I will take this opportunity, I guess, to thank you for being here and really sharing the great work that you're doing and spearheading at your school. So thank you.
Member Minik.
Thank you, Vice President Wu. Yeah, I also want to thank you for your work. I was out there last year when you were doing the No One Eats Alone Day, and I watched you in action. I watched the school really embrace this. And, you know, it's not easy to kind of walk up to some, you know, random kid that you don't know and you know, make sure they're doing okay, start up a conversation, make sure they feel comfortable where they're at. And I really appreciate you putting yourselves out there and taking a little bit of a risk in making sure you're providing a safe environment for your peers. So thank you again for continuing that tradition. I know we can be really proud of all the work you're doing at Wilsey Wood. So thank you.
Have a resolution, voted on it. My colleagues approved it, so.
I'm coming down.
This is our photo op. Yeah, go Cal, go Bears.
I'm coming down, Spartans.
This is for you guys. Thank you. Keep up the good work. Next item on the agenda is another special presentation to approve resolution number 3050 in recognition of Teen Dating Violence Awareness and Prevention Month, which is February 2019. Member Minik.
Thank you, Vice President Wu. I am very excited to present the resolution for Teen Dating Violence Awareness and Prevention Month. This is something that's very close to my heart as I worked in the field of teen violence prevention for quite a few years. I'm really excited tonight to have representatives from our local nonprofit agency that addresses this issue, WEAVE, and then also the California Partnership to End Domestic Violence. So I'm going to ask the representatives to come forward, if you don't mind. From the partnership to the California Partnership to End Domestic Violence, we have Miranda Stiers. The partnership's a coalition of advocates and organizations from all over our state that focus on creating a California free from domestic violence, and which includes their focus on teen dating violence. And we're very fortunate to have them located here in the capital city. So I appreciate you being here. We also have from WEAVE, Shelby Weiss. WEAVE's been an ongoing partner with our district for many, many years, providing prevention and education services to our students. some of which I provided when I was there before I was sitting up here. We've recently received another grant that's going to allow for additional services with our district, including prevention education related to domestic violence, sexual assault, and sex trafficking. The project's going to include providing classroom presentations and workshops, teacher training, and education for parents. So we're really excited about this new opportunity for our district that Weave's going to be providing. And they'll be using training and information that's based on the new California Health Education Framework, which we're expecting to be adopted by the State Board of Education later this year, of which Weave was a content expert provider for that curriculum. So we're really excited to have them here. In the interest of saving everyone from hearing the entire resolution, I'm going to read a little bit of it, and then I'll give you a chance to speak, and then we'll vote. I don't know what order we'll do it, but I guess Vice President Wu will decide. So this is in recognition of Teen Dating Violence Awareness and Prevention Month of February 2019. Whereas teen dating violence is a serious and growing problem throughout California, and whereas teen dating violence intervention and prevention programs can help to ensure a positive school climate and safe learning environment for all pupils, address warning signs of dating violence among pupils before behaviors escalate, and protect the safety of targeted students. Whereas according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Dating Matters Strategies to Promote Healthy Teen Relationships report, 1 in 4 adolescents report verbal, emotional, physical, or sexual dating abuse every year. And whereas victims of teen dating violence have increased risk for truancy, dropout, teen pregnancy, suicide, having eating disorders, and engaging in other harmful behaviors, such as use of tobacco, alcohol, and other drugs. And whereas half of students who experience dating violence have reported that some of the abuse took place on school grounds, now, therefore, be it resolved that the Sacramento City Unified School Board of Education proclaims the month of February 2019 as Teen Dating Violence Awareness and Prevention Month, and supports communities to empower teens to develop healthy and violence-free relationships throughout their lives. So with that, can we move for a vote?
Yes.
And then we'll let them speak.
So did you move?
Do
To
we
adopt
need
the
to do a
resolution
public comment
after
first?
we move to vote.
I would like to move that we adopt this resolution.
Okay. And then, any discussion? Student preferential vote?
Aye.
Thank you. And I too, thank you. As a founder of my sister's house, I really appreciate the work that you do for victims of domestic violence, human trafficking, and sexual assault. So thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. Thank you.
And so then if you would like to speak on behalf of your organizations, I will come down and bring these resolutions to you.
Great. Thank you so much. This is incredibly important, not only for organizations like mine, like Weave, but also for the teens, to know that their district is behind them. I'm embedded at 2 of the schools in this district, at Wilsey Wood and at Hiram Johnson. I got done today. I've been there all day giving presentations about teen dating violence and some of the warning signs. And I've seen and encountered and presented and educated to hundreds of students in this district, and I've gotten a lot of feedback from a lot of them, and they are overwhelmed with excitement that this is going to be adopted. We've kind of spread the word, that this was going to be something that was going to happen or potentially happen. And it's important for them to feel like they're taken seriously. There are a lot of teens that are affected by teen dating violence. 1 in 4, but also 1 in 3 is another statistic for abuse in a relationship, as well as 1 in 10 are likely to experience physical abuse in a relationship as teens. So it is really important that this is acknowledged, and just thank you for that very much.
And my name is Miranda, and I just really want to thank the board for standing behind this resolution and recognizing the importance of not only raising awareness, but also supporting prevention of teen dating violence. As we know, it is hugely impactful in our communities, and the safer our communities can be, the better we'll all be.
Thank you.
We'll do a picture with our guy.
Item 8, public comment. Mr. Barrios, do we have public comment?
Yes, we have 19 public comments, so if you can come up when you hear your name called, please. First is Karl Pinkston, followed by Alma Lopez. And if you can form a line right here in the front, please. Karl Pinkston, followed by Alma Lopez, Kenya Martinez, Arion Castañeda, Atsiri Atilano Lopez, Jon Lenny Yaray Atilano Lopez, Alejandro Fisher, Brianna Bell, Brenda Cruz Escobedo, Ashley Abrego, Natalia Rivas, Berenice Vargas, Norma Vargas, Elvia Vasquez, Ian Arnold, and Jen Henderson.
Good evening. My name is Karl Pinkston. I'm with the Black Parallel School Board. I know you pulled one agenda item as it relates to SRO, but I wanted to speak to it this evening, as it relates to the study that was referenced. The Carleton University was conducted a 2-year study of SROs in Peel region, which is in Ottawa, Canada, and Mazir, Canada. Ottawa, Canada only has, it has 74.2% of the population are white and 5.7% are black. In Mazir, they have 42.3 are white and 6.6 are black. Although Mazar is more diverse than Carleton University, the study was designed to capture the benefits of SROs as it relates to bullying. And moreover, the study reflects more white students and administrators in the study. I strongly suggest you refer to another study. Middle school review by Howard University professor Kenneth Alonzo Anderson, who published a study called Policing in Middle School. And his finding clearly indicates that education enhances school safety, not policing. Another study, Matthew T. Third and John Orman study titled School Resource Officers and Students Feeling of Safety, reported that, based on his regression analysis, shows that the interaction with the SROs was unrelated to feeling of safety, and instead of African-American students and victimized students felt less safe. In other words, district use of Canadian study doesn't reflect SROs in the US, and particularly SROs that are deployed in high concentration of student of color. I think this is mixing apples and oranges in studies. To conclude, I strongly recommend and demand that SRO contract not be renewed with the Sacramento City Unified School District.
Thank you, Mr. Pinkston.
Good evening, members of the board again. This time I decided to bring up my son, Kensei Martinez. The last time that I appeared at the board, I made a request about him getting accommodated for the PSAT, and I would like to thank you, Superintendent Aguilar, and your staff in the Special Education Department for just working on to make sure that this thing was just done for him, so I appreciate that very much. I'm here this evening because although that was done, there's something else that happened recently. My son is visually impaired. My son is at risk for retinal detachment, and he has an IEP. And in his IEP, it states that he is supposed to have a spotter for running. He is supposed to be accommodated. I found out last week, and during a PE course, that the teacher did not give him a spotter for running. If my son would have fallen it could have resulted in him being permanently blind. His vision is limited as it is. He cannot drive. He will not be allowed to drive because his vision is that low. So I'm asking the board to continue to look into this investigation. I've already made the special education department aware of what's going on, but I'm bringing it up to you because I would appreciate it if it was looked into further and investigated further. As a parent, I cannot tell you how upset it has been this last week for me to see that something so precious as vision was taken for granted in this incident. So that is what I'm requesting the board to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes. My name is Salma Lopez. I'm a statewide coordinator of Brown Issues. And Brown Issues is a youth leadership development organization that focuses on narrative change, civic engagement, and social emotional support. And we have chapters here in Sac City Unified, Burbank High School, McClatchy, Hiram Johnson, West Campus, the Met High School, Rosa Parks Middle School. And there's a high interest of developing chapters in Kennedy High School, Valley High, and also Cal Middle. And we're here just to request that the $3 million for the SRO contract that has not been renewed goes specifically to the resources that the students will speak to. And I came last school year, to speak on a number of cases that were very problematic in terms of the interactions with the SROs and our students. And I asked about the protocol, no answers. So I don't know why it took so long for us to have just a copy of the contract and just to know that there was a contract, period. I don't understand why there's still a presence of SROs on our campuses if the contract was expired last summer. And so I don't know under what authority it was, it continued. I don't understand who's paying for that, but I do understand that those $3 million are still set aside because that contract has not been renewed. And so we're here to urge you to listen to our students and listen to our parents, listen to their stories, and truly invest in the resources that our students need. We just ask for answers, and we ask that you listen to our students who are gonna speak up next.
Good evening, I'm Alondra Fisher. I'm president of the Brown Issues chapter at West Campus High School. I've recently been discussing the topic of SROs with students at Hiram Johnson, McClatchy, Burbank, and West Campus. Many of us agreed that there are more crucial aspects in our district that need investments, like psychologists, social workers, translators, nurses, and ways of restorative justice that can prevent misconduct. Through our more than 10 years of our experience in this district, we are tired of seeing our peers suffer mental illnesses, substance abuse, and trauma on and off campus. As our distressed peers seek help, our schools lack the resources necessary to help our brothers and sisters prevail the harsh conditions of their reality, or simply do not handle the situation correctly. With a social worker, psychologist, students have a safety net from poor choices. We can lean on them when we don't have anyone else to, teaching us how to handle our situations correctly instead of committing misdemeanors. With an officer on campus, we are criminalized for our mistakes without properly learning how to improve ourselves. The reality of our district is that there are students who drastically need professional support for self-growth and mental health. Your vote to distribute SRO money for educational resources like psychologists and social workers can be the difference between a future leader and a future criminal. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher.
My name is At City. I'm a student at Sac State. I am here to declare to decline the SRO contract because one of my experiences with them is that I had an ex-boyfriend who sent me some inappropriate pictures, and this SRO officer told me that she put me in a room and told me to tell her that I had had sex with him when it was not true, and forced me to say something that was totally false, and it was embarrassing to have to say something that I didn't want to say because it wasn't true. And she lied to my parents and told her I did when it was a lie. Also, I feel that going to school, I wasn't feeling safe at that moment because I felt like I was being criminalized for something that wasn't that wasn't under my I wasn't under my awareness, and it was just that I don't feel safe with them being there because they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, making me feel safe, but they're making me feel like I'm going to a low-key prison where I'm not feeling like they're doing anything to provide for the students. And I feel like that those $3 million should be used for counselors and other resources that we need instead of the SRO contract being renewed. Thank you.
Good night. My name is Jon Lenny. Today I come to talk about that $3,000 shouldn't go to the SOR contract because many teenagers feel insecure at school because that contract is making people fear that instead of, like my sister's experience made her feel unsafe, and I don't want that to happen to other people. Also, we need more resources at school. Like, we barely got textbooks for Spanish class, something that we didn't have. Books that we didn't have 10 years, they were 10 years old, which didn't provide any resources for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Brendon Cruz Escobedo, and I'm a senior at the Mat Sacramento High School. The amount of money that's potentially being used for this renewal of the SRO contract is definitely being misused. What makes me feel safe in a school environment isn't a cop. In fact, I'm asking all of you to really ask students what would make us feel safe, and a cop is the last thing that comes to their minds. In my situation, instead of a cop, what I need is people that I know I can count with and someone that I can talk to about my issues that I'm facing, like having a counselor or even a program that would actually help me. In my school, there's roughly around 350 students with one academic counselor at our campus. Not to mention that she's there only half of the day. It becomes hard not only for us to schedule in a day, but for her to manage all 350 students. But besides that, we need emotional support counselors to help guide us towards the right path and to have someone we can trust. Everything starts somewhere. A student won't just randomly shoot up a school for no reason. There's trauma and negative experiences they've faced that leads them to that. And they don't need a cop to make matters worse. They need someone to listen to them. Even having more organizations like Brown Issues, where students will always be welcomed and where they know they won't be judged for their past experiences, would help out a lot of students that are just looking for those people to open doors and new opportunities, rather than having cops misleading them towards the wrong path and closing their doors for a quality education. For these reasons, I urge you all to better invest those $3 million in academic and mental health counselors and programs.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Berenice Vargas. I'm a student at West Campus High School, and I'm here declining the SRO contract as well. So I'm gonna just bring this up. So I heard recently from Rachel that the SROs aren't gonna be at every school. So thinking about that, what's the point of it if they're just gonna protect some students while the others? And if we have cops on campuses, taking the words as my school member board, Rachel, if we can trust the cops to come to our house, why can't we trust them to come to our school? And why do we have to have them there if we can't trust them to already be there to keep us safe?
Hi, I'm also here to talk about the SRO contract in behalf of Brown Issues on behalf of my school. I'm Ariadne Castañeda. From my personal experience, I had the resource to have emotional support and to get through a lot of difficult high school experiences, but I know that a lot of my peers and a lot of the other students in the other schools of my district don't have that same resources and could really need it. And our school system could really benefit from more counselors, not only academic, but also emotional, to provide emotional support, to provide just a listening ear that could really help students get through difficult situations. Instead of having negative experiences with SRO officers that can make them feel criminalized or just make them feel unsafe. Thank you.
Good evening, you guys. My name is Brianna Bell. I'm a senior at the Met High School. I want to address the fact that the money that is used in the SRO contracts could go towards things that will better benefit us as students more so than SROs. We don't have mental health counselors for people to talk to. We don't have a nurse to treat us for injuries that happen on school campuses. If the main priority is safety of the students, but we go without things that would benefit us both mentally and physically, then what is the point of having the funds set aside? Safety to me means having a safe place to turn to when I need to talk. When I went to go speak with a counselor about the hard time I was having, I was struggling due to everything on my mind. I was basically turned away because that wasn't her area. She wasn't trained. She's strictly academic. Kids like me get turned away every day due to the low funding for the mental health counselors, and lots of us have no one to turn to.
Hello, my name is Ashley, and I am a student at Luther Burbank High School, and I'm also part of Brown Issues chapter. I wanted to start off by saying, how can a student be judged when they don't have the resources that they need? That's why I am here to decline the SRO contract, because I believe that those $3 million could go into more counselors that can help students' growth mentally and emotionally, and more tutors that can help them with academically. And I think those $3 million can be well invested in all of our schools in this district. Thank you.
Hello, I am a student at Luther Burbank High School. My name is Natalia, and I am here also to decline the $3 million going towards SROs. I believe these $3 million should go towards our school because as being a student at Luther Burbank High School, our classes are full of students. Our maximum students for each teacher is 35, and that's what we are hitting the students. We could barely even afford books for our teachings and for our learnings. We could barely get 35 books for each teacher and their class to be able to help us learn what we need to learn. And this is why I want the $3 million to go towards our school to be able to help us use that money to get more resources, to get more books, better desks, and more teachers for us to learn well. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Norma Hernandez. I'm representing the parents and also I've been with Brown Issues as well. I had the opportunity to be working with the kids. And what I see around there is how much necessity they have. And I see they need more opportunities. They also need counsel to talk to them. Also, I just see a lot of parents who speak Spanish, and we don't have that in the schools. So I think the money that we have in there, you better get it in something that the really people needs it. And that's really important for everybody, for our community, for our kids. And we wanna build our kids who have better opportunities. This is one of the things that you can do for us, because I'm talking about the parents. Just think about your kids. That's the most important thing that we have, is our future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Elvia Vasquez. I live here in South Sacramento. I have 3 children, and which one of them just graduated from McClatchy this year. Even though he's 20, he was academically advanced. He was transferred from here, Sacramento, to Sutterville because of being gated child. And even though he was doing wonderful, they asked him to get out of the gate program because he was hyperactive. And I guess because of the lack, not understanding the language, it was hard for me to understand, so I just took him out, and it was very challenging. But then, because getting out of the program, his grade is starting decreasing, even though he was advanced math and so and so. He went to McClatchy. I was asking for help, tutoring or something, and no one was able to help him. He was getting depressed. I came actually here to knocking doors, asking people if they could help him. They said they only for children about to graduate they could help him. So now I'm talking about SROs, the police. I'm totally opposing against that because when children like mine needs more better understanding or help instead of policing, we can have social workers, psychologists, or art or any other instead of doing that. He just graduated this year, but he's still going with issues because I guess self-esteem affects him a lot. And I just want to ask everyone that is here to oppose that SRO's contract and stand up. Thank you.
Ian, are you going to talk about the SRO contract by any chance?
I'm not.
Okay. Member Minik would like to say a few words.
I just wanted to address the students from Brown Issues on this. You know, since this is an item that's not on our agenda, we can't speak on the item itself. But I wanted to thank you all for being here and making sure that your voice was heard. I think that's really important. You know, a lot of times we make a lot of decisions about students without the opportunity to hear from them. And I also want to thank the students from Brown Issues that spent quite a bit of time with me to, you know, outside of this room to talk about their concerns, both at the students from West Campus and the Met, and then at Hiram Johnson. And I want you to know how much I appreciate that. And it did not fall on deaf ears. You know, the things that we talked about, we had some pretty good conversations about this, and it definitely helps in our decision making to get that information from you who are living it every day. So I just want you to know how much I appreciate your engagement in this and advocacy. And I hope that when this does come up before this board for a vote, that we'll see you again, and you'll continue to be good advocates for yourselves and your colleagues on any number of issues. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Arnold.
Hi, good evening. Ian Arnold. Good evening, President Wu, Superintendent, board members. So it's not a surprise, it's not a secret, we're in a budget crisis. We've all seen the FICMAT report. We've got a problem, we know we have a problem. We can fight with each other, we can argue over money we don't have. That's a complete waste of everybody's time. We do absolutely need to figure out what caused this problem, how we got here, how we can avoid this kind of disaster in the future. But we absolutely need to get beyond that and get to the next step. We're in the capital city of the 5th largest economy in the world, but we can't fund education properly. That's a damn shame. California is currently 41st in per pupil spending in the nation. That's 41st. You know, when I went to school in California, we were way ahead of the rest of the country, and then the 80s came along, and we've been dropping back ever since. Even in our best years, we haven't been able to provide the kind of education to our kids that I got in California. Do New Yorkers really love their kids more than twice as much as Californians? I doubt it. But they fund their kids' educations at 215% of what we fund ours. Alaskan kids, they're funded at 197% of California. Wyoming legislators seem to believe their kids are worth 170% of what Californians believe our kids are worth. The Republic of Korea spends 10% more per pupil than California does. The British government spends 168% more student than we do, and Mexico spends 3% more per pupil than California does. We need everybody in this room, that's staff, administrators, educators, school board members, unions, parents, students, community activists, city council members, anybody we can get our hands on, and we need to come together and form the Students First Coalition for Budget Solutions, and we need every single member of the state legislature, especially those who graduated from Sac City or who have kids in the school district, to hear from us that we need to fix the funding mechanism. If we don't do that, it doesn't matter what we do in the short term, we've got to fix the long-term problem, and if we don't, shame on us. We need to perhaps move a parcel tax in the short term, but that's not going to fix anything, not in the long term. We need to fix the underlying problem. School strikes in West Virginia, the Midwest, and Los Angeles are the symptoms. Underfunding is the cause, and we need to push the legislature to provide the cure. The capital city is definitely the right place to demand proper funding for our kids' educations, and if this is not the right time, then I have no idea when the right time is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. Moving on. Oh, still more? Thought he was the
Hello,
last.
good evening. I just want to thank you all for listening to Brown Issues and all of our comments this evening. My name is Carmen Martinez. I'll give one last brief comment on the SRO contract. I am a student at Sacramento State and alumni from McClatchy High School. And I would just like to also decline the SRO contract since I had a variety of bad experiences with the police on campus at McClatchy. One being, while I was there, classmate of mine threatened that he was going to shoot up the school. And that kind of threat is very terrifying for any high schooler to experience, especially now that we've seen a number of mass shootings across the nation. So hearing that, my immediate response was to go talk to school resource officer and, administration at my school. And unfortunately, when I did that, the police officer laughed at me and just said that he doubted that anything like that would happen. So you can imagine how much fear I had when that was the response I had from a police officer. So moving forward from that, I was still very terrified in my school. I also had a number of friends who were victims of sexual violence and abuse who confided in the school resource officers and felt that they were shamed for what had happened to them, and that they were basically told that there was nothing that could happen or nothing that could be done for them. So I feel like there is definitely a lot of things that could be done, and there's a great need for psychological and mental health resources on campus that the school resource officers are not trained for. And that's my class.
Hi, my name is Cecilia, and I'm a student at the Met Sacramento High School, and I'm also with Brown Issues. I would also like to decline the SRO contract. I do come from a small school, so it's not often we don't often see SROs, and we feel perfectly fine. I don't see the need to have them. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Henderson. I am a parent here. I have a kinder and a second grader here in Sacramento Unified. And I'm here to request a little bit more transparency in the budget process I understand everyone here knows about our challenges that we have, but what I'm having trouble understanding is what is the framework that you guys are working with, because I was here the last meeting and Mr. Aguilera, you gave your update saying that you've met, but we don't have everyone here. I don't understand as somebody, a taxpayer, a public person watching, what are the steps and what are the milestones that we're trying to reach? And I don't know how to get this information. I go to your website. I'm going to be meeting with Mr. Wu and Moreski on Valentine's Day. I'm coming to that meeting too. But even in that meeting, there's only 20 minutes of that there's going to be an overview of the fiscal update. And what I don't understand is where, like I've heard it could go over the state. Well, what's the date that that's going to happen? What things are going to be leading up to that? I don't have any framework to be working with as the public. I can see that we have a budget that was published, but the last updates that I've seen were in October 2018. That's what the B's reporting, that's what's on your website. And I know you guys have probably made progress. I just don't know what it is. And so I'm looking to see, I know you guys are working hard. I'd like to see what's going on and to have a little bit more transparency there. So, thank you.
Go ahead, Superintendent. No more public comments, Mr. Barrios?
No more public comments.
Thank you. Item 9.1, public hearing on the renewal charter petition for the Language Academy of Sacramento. Mr. Kramer? And Mr. Eduardo De Leon, the lead petitioner. I think somebody likes you.
Good evening. We have a couple more folks from the Language Academy team coming up. No? Oh, got it. Good evening, Board Vice President Wu, esteemed board members, and Superintendent Aguilar. I'm Jack Kramer, Director of Innovative Schools and Charter Oversight. I will be facilitating this public hearing on charter renewal and petition admission preferences for Language Academy of Sacramento, also known as LOS. With me to my left, we have Executive Director Eduardo De Leon, and he'll be providing a presentation immediately after mine. Tonight's presentation, it will entail an overview of the charter school, the process for charter renewal, purpose of public hearing, and then next steps, and finally it will conclude with a presentation by the petitioner. The content regarding the process of charter renewal and the purpose of public hearing, items 2 and 3, it will serve not only this agenda item 9.1, but it will also serve the next agenda item 9.2 as well. Language Academy of Sacramento, they have been in operations for 15 years. They started in 2004. Last school year, their enrollment was 293, serving students in kindergarten through 8th grade. Their campus is located on district-owned property at 2850 49th Street. They are an independent charter school. The renewal petition was submitted on January 22nd. Board action is currently anticipated for March 21st, and their current charter is due to expire June 30th. The process for charter renewal, it in essence is a 60-day process. It begins with the submission of the charter petition, and that is when the statutory clock starts ticking. That 60-day process, roughly in the middle, we have a public hearing, which is tonight, and that is by statute required to be held within 30 days of petition submission. And finally, it will conclude within 30 days where the board must take action. And to note, for renewal charter petitions, if the board does not take action, by statute, it's deemed automatically approved. It is a 60-day window unless there is a mutually agreed upon extension by petitioner and the district. You have 30 more days, and thereby expanding that window to 90 days. Throughout this process, the district charter review team, we review and evaluate the petition, and thereafter we will submit a report that will coincide with board action date. The purpose of a public hearing for petitions is pursuant to Ed Code 47605B and 47607A2. The public hearing, it will allow the governing board, that would be all of you, to consider the level of support for the petition. It also allows petitioners and public to speak regarding the renewal charter application. And finally, it also allows interested parties to comment to the governing board regarding their support or opposition for the renewal charter application. We also have a public hearing concurrently for admission preferences, and that is pursuant to AB 1360. And for that portion of the public hearing, it allows the governing board to consider and approve the petition admission preferences for Language Academy of Sacramento. The admission preferences from their petition on page 131, they are as follows and in priority order. Their first preference is siblings of current Language Academy students. Next, children of Language Academy staff. Third, students that reside within the 95820 zip code, and that's in honor of the Fruit Ridge boundaries. And then we have students that reside within the SCUSD attendance area. And finally, students that reside outside the SCUSD attendance area. For next steps, the governing board approves the petition admission preferences, and they are on tonight's consent agenda. Throughout this process, district staff, the charter review team, we will continue our review of previous practices and data, as well as the proposed practices and data in their petition. Additionally, we will look through all different components of their renewal charter petition. Once again, the governing board must grant or deny the charter within 60 days of receipt of the petition. I would like to note that Language Academy of Sacramento and the district, we do have an agreement for a 30-day extension. Nonetheless, board action is currently scheduled for March 21st. Before we go into public comment and Q&A, we do have a presentation from Language Academy.
Hi, everyone. Good evening, Superintendent Aguilar, members of the board. Official welcome in person to members Garcia and Morawski. My name is Eduardo de Leon. I'm the Executive Director of the Language Academy, and I'm here representing more kids than you see right now in the crowd, 605 actually, as well as many parents, staff members, and community members. Jack mentioned a little bit about our origins. Our story begins more than 20 years ago. We actually started as a program within Fruit Ridge Elementary. So our name wasn't the Language Academy. At the time, a strong group of parents and teachers, community members and students came together and thought about ways that we could really see our growth as a program and definitely take our bilingual program to the next level. This all happened in 2001, and so this describes the origin of the Language Academy and the charter team. We submitted a charter petition and we were unanimously approved in 2004. So the Sac City School Board said, yes, you all can continue to work. We actually stayed at Fruit Ridge Elementary. This is why we continue to honor that community by giving preference to families that live in the 95820 zip code. At the time when we opened, we had 228 students, and almost 15 years later, we count 605. We are close to our maximum growth, so next year actually should see that number at about 610 or 612. One of the accomplishments as we made that move to the new site, the Marion Anderson School site, I would like to highlight that we had the opportunity to do, I think, some of the best work that we've done in collaboration with Sac City, which was enter into an agreement where we could invest Language Academy dollars to improve a Sac City Unified School District site, knowing that that commitment and that long-term plan would allow us to grow to the number that you see today. So if you have a chance to visit, or if you have visited our site, then you will see a beautiful gymnasium and a 2-story classroom structure. We recently continued the collaboration with our Sac City friends and improved also the front parking lot. The slide mentions that there is the growing continued interest in our program. We do average about 100 students, new applicants every year. The current waitlist number exceeds our current enrollment at 713. I do want to take this opportunity to emphasize that we are not the only dual language program in the district. So this, I think, is reflective of the interest that many of your own programs have had as well. While we have really struggled to make sure that we can have success for our kids in English and in Spanish, I know that within the district, Spanish isn't the only second language that's being explored. I know that Mandarin is something, as well as Hmong immersion. So just taking that opportunity to recognize those programs as well. As we have, over the course of the 15 years, worked to ensure that we can implement our mission and ensure the greatest amount of success for our kids, we have also been met with changes and embraced them. So what you see are just ideas around how we have been able to work and fit our mission into the 8 state priorities. I'm going to be highlighting a few. Is that okay? Very quickly. Academics. So you will hear from us, and we actually had one of our governing board parent representatives come and share some data. And when we share data, whether it's with our students, with our staff, with parents, or publicly, we will always talk about 3 stages because we understand that learning a second language, especially in our program where the focus is Spanish to start for all of our students, including those who don't come in with Spanish access, that it does take time and that is a progression. So by the end of stage 3, 7th and 8th, we are looking to focus on not only Spanish progress, but English. So when we do data analysis, what we're able to see is that our students at 7th and 8th in stage 3, that they are at or above in terms of data progress when we compare to students in schools where they would otherwise attend. And that data doesn't take into consideration the fact that they have also acquired a second language. We have, for some years now, the ability to send students into high schools that are prepared to go into AP language courses. We have recently began to provide them with the opportunity also to take the AP language test in Spanish prior to leaving our school. It's a practice, but they get to go in with a piece of paper that says how well they did. As far as our basic infrastructure, just to highlight some resources, all of our students in 2nd through 8th grade have a 1-to-1 computer device to student ratio. In our K1, it's 5-to-1. When we think about teachers, teacher retention is something that I'm very proud of at the Language Academy. Here I've highlighted that 96% of LAS teachers have 2 or more years of classroom teaching experience. 68% have 5 or more. And today I was thinking about our list of teachers, and we were able to determine how many of them have been with us since 2004. The only reason it's not a large number is because we've grown so much as a program, but many of them have been with us since the beginning. Lastly, climate and engagement. We do survey our families and our students on a yearly basis. Just a couple of highlights there. 95 to 97% of our students agreed with the statement, "It is important for me to learn to read and write in English and in Spanish." And then 90%, although we're working to increase that, responded that they liked their school. On the parent side, 95%, this is just one highlight, of course, 95% stated that they would recommend the school to others. At the statewide level, and I mentioned this recently at one of your board meetings, Tom Torlickson, now former state superintendent, came and was able to highlight the Language Academy as a local example, one of the local examples of dual immersion or dual language done correctly. This is part of the Global California 2030 initiative. Recently, we also had the opportunity to host a 65-member group of CABE's administrative leadership team. These are new or seasoned administrators who have been trying to implement dual language within their home districts. So they're from across the state, and they came to the Language Academy to learn how we do dual language. We are very proud of the fact that our learning happens at our school, but it also happens in conjunction with international visitors. We have now for some years been able to establish a strong connection with the UC Davis Department of International Programs. Some of the highlights are listed here. Recently, Colombia, Japan, Taiwan. These are teachers that teach English in their home countries or are potentially working in dual language settings. They have come to visit us as part of that relationship, and we've been able to learn from them as well. I just wanted to end by, of course, turning around and thanking the amazing, can you please stand up if you are a Language Academy supporter? Si ustedes apoyan. So it's because of them and so many others who weren't able to be here tonight that I'm able to do the work that I do and always in collaboration with some amazing people. I want to thank Sac City Unified as well, the school board, Jack Kramer, who has worked tirelessly to ensure that you all have a really strong connection with the work that we're doing. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Daly. Before I move forward with public comment, let me just ask Mr. Behrens. Mr. Behrens, the purpose of today's information is to conduct a public hearing to consider the level of support for the renewal charter petition for Language Academy of Sacramento. Can I open the hearing on my own motion, or do I need a motion from my colleagues?
You can open the hearing on your own motion and then close the hearing.
Thank you. So I will, as this is a public hearing, I will open the hearings. Mr. Barrios, do we have public comment?
We have 4 public comments. If you could please stand up in order when you hear your name called. Naila Kokai, Xochitl Laredo, and Claudia Ochoa, combined time. Nadine Ruiz, and Sebastian Gutierrez and Tegan Brostrom, combined time.
And as they come up to present their public statement regarding this petition, I want to note for the record that about 3/4 of the room stood up when Mr. De Leon asked for those who were in support of this petition. So thank you.
Good evening. I'm the parent of a 7th grader and 2nd grader, both who have attended Language Academy of Sacramento since kindergarten. When I applied for LAS, I was just hoping to give my child an edge in life. I knew being an African-American female with the ability to speak 2 languages would help my daughters in the competitive work world. What I didn't know was that I was not only putting my child in a school, but also joining a community. By the end of kindergarten, both of my children had learned to hold a conversation in Spanish. As they've continued on, they have learned about different societal issues, both positive and negative, and what they can do individually to have an impact. My children are not only learning academic problem solving, but also learning how to apply their skills to the real world. My daughters are learning about other cultures, which is giving them a sense of the world and a desire to travel and experience the food, dress, and ways of life of other countries. They have made close relationships that will support them throughout their educational career and the rest of their life. The Language Academy community has fostered my children's sense of self-identity and their self-confidence. As we know, with any long-lasting relationship, there is conflict. I've not agreed with everything LAS has done over the years. Each time I have a concern, as a mama bear, I gear up for a fight. I express my concern, my worry, and sometimes even anger with the teachers, the academic director, the after-school program director, and even the Language Academy board. Each time, I am met with an individual or group who hears me out with genuine compassion. They're not only open to hearing my concerns, but take the time to sit with me and discuss how we as a team can not only support my children, but make improvements for others to come. Language Academy has been a great blessing to my family, imparting us with experiences that will shape our lives forever. I'm truly grateful to be a part of this community and hope many more will have the opportunity to experience the learning opportunities, the wonderful staff, and the relationships my children and I continue to experience. For all these reasons, I believe their charter should be renewed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morales.
Buenas tardes, miembros de la mesa directiva y Superintendente Aguilar.
Good afternoon, members of the Governing Board and Superintendent Aguilar.
Mi nombre es Xochitl Laredo y soy mamá de 3 hijas que asisten a LAS. Actualmente están en kinder, segundo y sexto grado.
My name is Xochitl Laredo, and I'm the mother of 3 students that attend LAS, who are currently in kinder, second, and 6th grade.
Durante los casi 7 años que he formado parte de la comunidad, he participado dentro del salón de mis hijas, trabajando en conjunto con las maestras para apoyar en el proceso de aprendizaje de todos los jaguares.
For approximately 7 years that I've been part of the community, I've been actively involved inside the classroom, working side by side with teachers to support all the learnings of all of Jaguares.
Recientemente he servido como miembro del Concilio de Padres y de ILAC. para planear eventos para familias y ayudar a tomar decisiones que influyen en el progreso de nuestros estudiantes.
Recently, I've been a member of the Parent Council Committee and the ELA Committee, in which we plan events for families and make decisions that influence the progress of our students.
Yo quisiera agradecer al Distrito Escolar de Sacramento y la mesa directiva por su gran apoyo y permitir una escuela como LAS, una escuela donde mis hijas puedan aprender en inglés y español y donde se puedan preparar para futuros retos académicos. Muchas gracias.
I would like to thank the Sacramento School District and the governing board for allowing a school like LAS, where my daughters can learn English and Spanish and where they can prepare for a future of academic challenges. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Nadine Reese, and I'm Professor Emeritus of Bilingual Multicultural Education at Sacramento State University and lecturer at UC Davis School of Education. At both universities, my central responsibility has been to prepare bilingual teachers. This past November, I was elected to the LAS Governing Board as a community representative. And tonight, I'd like to bring those two responsibilities together and share with you the significant impact that LAS has had on our community of bilingual educators. Over the past 15 years, LAS has opened their doors to over 100 bilingual teacher candidates. On average, there have been 6 to 8 Sac State student teachers per year at LAS, and more recently, approximately 4 student teachers from the UC Davis bilingual program. It's actually a challenge to represent to you how often I, as a bilingual educator, run into current teachers from Sacramento City Unified and nearby school districts, into principals, County Office of Education personnel, superintendents, California Department of Education consultants, another one this week, who did their clinical practice at LAS. In my experience, when other schools sometimes responded to our request to take in bilingual student teachers with, "No, sorry, we can't," LAS always responded, "Yes, we can. Sí se puede." Moving to our wider community, the state of California, we know that Education Code after Prop 58 spurred on a rapid increase of a demand for both bilingual teachers and programs. According to a 2017 report, 58% of all school districts in California intend to begin or expand their bilingual programs, but an overwhelming amount, 86%, report facing a shortage of bilingual teachers as a hurdle to realizing those plans. In sum, LAS has done the hard work to increase our numbers of effective beginning bilingual teachers, and our local and state communities of educators are all the richer and ready because of their efforts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Superintendent Aguilar, Board President Ryan, and members of the board. I'm Tegan Brostrom, and I am in 8th grade. I'm the Student Body Vice President and have been at Language Academy of Sacramento for close to 9 years. I entered in kindergarten, strictly as an English speaker, and now I am on the brink of moving towards high school as a bilingual and biliterate graduate. I am prepared to take higher-level language classes, like advanced placement language and literature classes. Just last week, my classmates and I had the opportunity to take the AP Spanish language practice test. I've benefited from LAS in a variety of ways. For one, I'm empathetic to language learners because I now know what it feels like to not understand what is going on around you. I've also developed a better understanding of the diverse cultural fabric of our state, and I'm prepared to become an informed global citizen.
Hola, me llamo Sebastián Gutiérrez y soy el presidente del Concilio Estudiantil de LAS. Ever since I started in kinder, I felt proud to be a member of our Jaguar school community. At LAS, my peers have learned to read, write, speak, and think in both English and Spanish. This ability has helped me achieve high academic levels in 2 languages while ensuring that I can continue to communicate with my family members living here in the U.S. and Mexico.
Al pensar en mis aspiraciones para el futuro, me gustaría ser arquitecta. I would like to be an architect, and I recognize that my bilingual abilities will expand the number of global clients that I will be able to work with. The cultural awareness and growth that I have experienced while a student in a dual language program will help me in my quest to become an architect, because it will allow me to appreciate different perspectives and even influence my designs.
To be honest, my dream is to play in the NBA, but as I work towards this goal, I plan on studying journalism or broadcasting. I know for a fact by knowing 2 languages, it increases my world audience in this job in this field. According to a recent Washington Post article, by knowing English and Spanish, I've increased the size of my world audience from 527 million to over 900 million. This is a gift that my parents and teachers have given me and one that I have worked very hard to achieve.
My bilingual brain makes me more adaptable to change. Studies show that my bilingual brain will help me to avoid Alzheimer's. My bilingual brain allows me to go from a math class taught in English to a science class taught in Spanish. I've been fortunate enough to flourish in this bilingual atmosphere, and I am excited for future students to get this opportunity and become a part of the LAS community.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a tribute to you and your school, Mr. De Leon. Mr. Barrios, are there any more public comments?
No further public comments?
Thank you. With that, I'm going to close the hearing. Do I have any questions from my colleagues? Member Garcia.
Yes, I just want to thank you all for being here and supporting a great school. I've had the opportunity to tour your facilities over the years, and you can just tell the moment you walk in that it's a very tight community, and there's so much exciting learning and experiences happening right before your eyes. So, so thank you for being here and for doing all the hard work. I mean, you truly have been a pioneer or spearheading this effort in terms of dual language immersion programs here in Sacramento. And I personally, here as a board member, want to see more of these programs in our district. And the first moment that I have the opportunity to start and continue that conversation, I want to do that, and we'll certainly hold LAS as a model. So thank you for being here.
With that, thank you, Mr. De Leon. We will see you, I believe, March 21st. Next item, 9.2, public hearing on the renewal charter petition for New Joseph Bonheim Community Charter School. Mr. Kramer with Christy Wells Artman, lead petitioner.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, second game of the doubleheader. I now have New Joseph Bonheim Community Charter School for their public hearing on charter renewal and petition admission preferences. With me, I have the NJB team. We have Principal Christy Wells Artman, and then we have Ms. Shannon Savala. She is PTA President and teacher of the school. And finally, Steering Committee President and also a parent, Ms. Michelle Johnson. So welcome. After my presentation, they will make one as well. The content format is the same as the prior presentation, so we will move forward. And I will now begin the overview of NJB. They are now in their 5th year of operation, and their school opened July 1st, 2014. Last year's enrollment, 283 students, serving kindergarten through 6th. They are located on district-owned property at 7300 Marin Avenue. NJB is a dependent charter school. Their renewal petition was submitted on January 22nd. They're also anticipated for board action on March 21st. Their current charter is due to expire June 30th. We went over the process for charter renewal, so I will move forward. And last presentation, we also went over the purpose of public hearing. And in general, it's to gauge, for the board to gauge support from the stakeholders. So we will now move to purpose of the public hearing as it relates to admission preferences, and that's pursuant to AB 1360. And so once again, this public hearing allows our governing board to consider and approve petition admission preferences for New Joseph Bonheim Community Charter School. As listed on their petition pages 105 and 106, in order of priority are their admission preferences. First, we have children and faculty of founders. That is followed by siblings of existing students. Third, students who reside in the former attendance area of the old Joseph Bonheim. And finally, we have the balance of those in Sac City boundaries. Our next steps are pretty much the same as our prior presentation. The governing board will look to approve their admission preferences on tonight's consent agenda. Throughout that time, additionally, district staff will continue our review. Once again, the statutory timeline is 60 days. I would like to note that New Joseph Bonheim, they have mutually agreed to a 30-day extension, and they are also scheduled for board action on March 21st. Once again, before we go into public comment and Q&A, we have a presentation by New Joseph Bonheim.
Good evening, Superintendent Aguilar and esteemed board members. Before I present, I would like to have our community, our staff, our teachers, and our scholars and supporters in favor of renewing the petition for NJB to please stand up. Tonight, we honor the greatness in them. They have been an integral, pivotal part in the charter renewal process. Their unwavering dedication and commitment to our children is very much appreciated, and they give lots of love to our school. So tonight we honor the greatness in you. Thank you. So we stand here today proudly to submit our charter renewal process. NJB is a community and cultural hub that's in the Colonial Heights and Colonial Manor area. It's a promise zone. We are a diverse school. We also are a low socioeconomic school. And currently we are housing 306 students, and we first started 5 years ago with 219. So we are growing very proudly. NJB is located at 7300 Marin Avenue. And our mission and vision is very similar to the district's. We believe in developing responsible, respectful, proactive citizens to become caretakers. We want them to be critical thinkers and change agents, not only in just their community, but in their world, and hopefully to pay it forward. We also believe that there are 21st century skills and jobs that are not even created yet in science and technology. So therefore, we believe that having agriculture is the very crux of who we are by giving these children opportunity. We have solving our big problem of having every scholar be able to read and write and think critically and master grade level readiness standards. And we do this by high quality first instruction, a body-brain compatible teaching and learning where we tap into every child's capacity and multiple intelligences. We are also proudly a Leader in Me school. A picture always tells 1,000 words, and if you see in the pictures, this is a narrative of who we are. We are a Leader in Me agricultural destination school. Our scholars are engaged in body-brain compatible learning centered around agriculture and science. We focus on developing their leadership skills with the 7 habits and life skills and the multiple intelligence to build their strength and capacity. And I'm proud to share with you some of our highlights and accomplishments. NJB has established the Leader in Me program, along with the consistent use of the life skill that supports a positive school culture and climate. And when you walk into NJB, you'll see that it is a warm and welcoming school, and that the love of learning is palpable. We believe that we want to create a destination where everybody can feel that they belong, a home away from home. And our families entrust us to nurture and grow their children. NJB is also an agricultural school that has a strong focus and implementation. The scholars and families and community members have built a farm where we have over 79 fruits and vegetables and 41 fruit hybrid trees. We have a California native garden. We have a rock garden and an area that looks a little bit like the Lorax and Dr. Seuss. And the kids are always learning and getting their hands very, very dirty. So when we see kids messed up when they're uniforms, we know that they've done some really good learning on the farm. Overall, our growth in CASP testing on the SBAC and ELA during the 4 years has been 11.52%, and then in math, that's an ELA, and then in math, 8.75% from 2014 to 2018. NJB has successfully established a parent academy and has held various community matter events where we hold community forums such as creating a safe haven school, addressing parents' concerns around immigration. We also, through our community matters, got the community to come out and advocate for a Department of Human Assistance. And then we partner with Sac City Unified with the Hope Closet to service other schools as well as our own. NJB has become the model 4-H school that serves grades K through 6. We are the only urban destination school that has a 4-H program, where UC Davis is now hoping to duplicate that with other schools due to our stellar program, and that's led by Tony Banuelos and Bruce Brummett. Some of our other highlights and accomplishments of NJB is we've had many scholars participate and compete in the Nature Bowl and in 4-H, where they have walked away with gold and silver awards. And that's really important to kids of color, because normally those competitions are more for schools that have been in affluent areas. So this is really important that NJB is standing tall and proud with the accomplishments. As part of our educational plan, the steering committee has fully funded Being There experiences or study trips for each grade level, including fully funding our 6th graders every year to go to Slide Park free of charge. We feel that is pivotal to our educational program, so we're very proud that we are able to afford that for our scholars. And on average, our scholars receive 4 to 5 study trips, and this gives them an opportunity to apply their learning to real-world applications. In 2015-16, parents had requested to open up a preschool as it was a need. So NJB partnered with the McClaskey Adult Center, and now we have a preschool, which has also helped with our kinder enrollment. So we're very happy to partner with them. NJB received several grants through literacy and the lifelong readers and reading partners. We're very proud to house them there. Our kids love going there and reading every day, so we're very happy to have them there and improve our literacy program. And we've also received several grants to support our school mission and vision in agriculture and science with Hands-On Sacramento. We've built an outdoor learning lab. We have a one-to-one computer for every child. We have grants through Renew Energy, SMUD, CSUS, UC Davis, and other community businesses and partners. And I would like to thank the board for listening about our wonderful school, and we invite you to please come and visit and see all the wonderful things we do. I'd like to thank Jack Kramer, and I would mostly like to thank our wonderful, our NJB family and community.
Are you going to make a presentation?
Good evening. My name is Shannon Zavala, and I am a parent of a current 4th grade scholar at NJB and another NJB alumni. My middle son attended there from 4th through 6th grade. And I'm also the NJB PTA president and a 1st grade teacher at the school since day one. When NJB opened, I decided to transfer my 2 sons from a Folsom Cordova school that was rated 9 out of 10 on greatschools.com to NJB because I believed in the program and the agriculture focus. My older son attended, as I said, 4th through 6th grade, and my youngest has attended since kindergarten. My older son participated in the 4-H program at school, which he never would have been able to due to our hectic schedule. And he was able to do woodworking and go to a presentation where he had to learn public speaking skills and all this. And they provided that there at the school, and the school provides for the fee that you have to pay for 4-H as well. Both my sons and my scholars enjoy working on the NJB farm, tending to the chickens, planting and harvesting their own food, and learning healthy eating habits and sustainable agriculture practices. As PTA president, I have enjoyed working alongside fellow parents, developing leadership in myself and others, and advocating for resources and opportunities for our children, such as a folklorico dance program during the school day that PTA supports, where our children can learn cultural arts and gain a different perspective. I still see a lot of potential growth at NJB and would like to ask you to approve the renewal of our charter. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Johnson. I am the parent of a kindergartner and second grader at New Joseph Bonheim. I'm also a member of the PTA and on the steering committee. I'm here today to speak in support of the renewal of the charter for New Joseph Bonheim Elementary Community Charter School. And all of those words are important in there, especially the word community. The school really does reach out into the community with local organizations, different funding sources, events, and things that they put on at the school for the families at NJB. It really is a cultural hub for the neighborhood. I was lucky enough to be looking for my house right before my children started school, and I did my homework. I looked at the schools where I was going to be moving. We moved into a house 1 block from the school. I saw that they had an agricultural focus, and I have built my career upon agricultural education. I'm an employee at the California State Fair, working on the agriculture and food programs there. And when I saw that, I knew that was the place for our family. And I went there and I saw the gardens and the 4-H club and the agricultural focus of the charter, and I was blown away. And my expectations have been met tenfold. The teachers there, the staff, everybody is very caring, loving. It's a wonderful place for my children to go to school. And so I joined the PTA to help out with events and have, it's a great community and it's a great time, and that is because people there care. And then I joined the steering committee, and on my first steering committee meeting, elected president. It's because I can't help myself. I speak so passionately about the school and about education and about agriculture. And I am been very impressed with this school, and I think that through the presentations presented to you, and if you happen to be able to do a site visit, you will know too. So please renew our charter for New Joseph Bonheim Elementary School. Thank you very much.
Mr. Barrios. Mr. Barrios, do we have any public comment?
Yes, we do. Got quite a few here, so if you could stand in order as soon as you hear your name called. Nevaya Prampit, Joanna Ramirez, Miana Jimenez, Victoria Jimenez, Jocelyn Ramirez, Isabela Gonzalez, Victor Navarro, Andrew Harrell, Mamona Hassan, Lainey Abeta, Jennifer Jimenez, Miyani Marshall, Bruce Brummett, Victor Garcia, Tony Banuelos, Arthur Aleman, Quinn Hoffman, and Celia Coronado.
Before we begin, I think within the podium there might be a stool for those who are vertically challenged like myself. I don't think that the small ones will take the full 2 minutes, but I appreciate that they're standing up there. Before we begin, I'm going to open the public hearing. Public hearing is now open. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nevea Prampin, and I'm a 6th grader at New Joseph Bonheim, and I'm
Slow down.
And I'm going to state why I like my school. I like my school because NJB, they have two 4-H leaders that are willing to help and educate students with their future. I also like my school because we have a wonderful principal and nice educated teachers that are willing to help our students. That's why I like NJB.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Joanna Ramirez and I'm in the 4th grade at NJB. I like my school because I enjoy the after-school programs like 4-H with Miss Tony and Mr. Bruce and tutoring with Miss Van Ness because they teach me new things. I also like my school because I like learning about agricultural. NJB is amazing and I love the school so much.
Hi, my name is Abel Sanchez. I am a 1st grader at NJB. I like my school because I can go to the farm to learn about plants with Miss Tony. I go to the school because I want to learn new things. I also like my school because I enjoy doing my math work and getting better at it.
Hi, my name is Jocelyn Ramirez, and I'm a 6th grader at New Joseph Bonheim. I like my school because I enjoy how we have a farm which shows our agricultural knowledge, and that's why NGB is unique. We learn about plants and chickens and a lot more with Miss Tony. We also have an after-school program which is Nature Bowl, where we learn about animals and wildlife, and we are going to UC Davis in April for a competition. And every Friday we do morning movement and our entire school participates. I enjoy our school farm because I get to learn new things every day. The teachers are involved with teaching agricultural lessons. Also, I like my school because we have amazing teachers that help us learn and a wonderful principal that loves us very much, and that's why NGB is unique. Hi, my name is Mayana Jimenez, and I am a 4th grader at NJB. I'm here to say that NJB has been my school since kindergarten. This school is so great. We do so many fun activities. We all accept each other no matter what color or race we are. We all have loving staff. The school has a lot of fun after-school activities. If we don't get something right, they help us improve until we get it right. Thank you for listening. Hi, my name is Victoria Jimenez. NJB has taught me so much, and I have been here since kinder, and I just love my school. The teachers are really nice to us. We thank them for all their hard work. I love learning about agriculture. Thank you for listening.
Good afternoon. My name is Isabella Gonzalez, and I'm a proud student at NJB. I enjoy going to NJB because it makes education fun and it has helped me with my learning. In all the years I've been in NJB, it has been a great 7 years of my school year. I also love how we have a farm because it helps us learn about plants and herbs. When I'm at NJB, I feel special and how our teachers and staffs really help us and do whatever it takes so we can succeed. This is why I love NJB. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Victor. I'm a 6th grader at NJB Charter School. This school was a home for me because I grew up here since kindergarten to 6th grade. This school, NJB, is a school that perseveres and never gives up. They try to improve it. Volunteers from our community and neighborhood come here to help improve the school. I hope they can improve with help from the volunteers. My life has changed with these improvements. Some improvements are the 6th and 5th grade middle school academy. This helps me get ready for middle school. By renewing the school, we could have more programs to teach us a new skill. Also, by renewing the school, we can have more teacher, volunteers, and students. This can make a perfect environment and a safe and good environment to learn and communicate with others at the school, which everyone can be part of. By renewing the school, we can have a proactive program. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Andrew Harrell, and I am a sixth grader here at New Joseph Bonheim. I am thankful to be here and enjoy being all around the great staff and students. I've learned so much being a scholar here at NJB. I am learning how to be caring and compassionate towards others. I am learning valuable social skills that will help me create lasting relationships with others. I am also learning how to be responsible and accountable for my own actions. Perhaps one of the most important things we are learning at NJB is how to be a great leader. I know that one day me and my peers will be the people who turn the world. And the teachers and staff like the ones here at NJB, we can make the world better. I am thankful to have such a strong support system here at NJB. And even though this is my first year at NJB, I appreciate all the staff and teachers here who help us through our year.
Hi, my name is Maimuna Hassan, and I'm in the 5th grade. I'm a 5th grade NJB scholar, and today I'm going to state why NJB is special to me. It's special to me because of the kind teachers, the amazing friends I made, and especially the 5th and 6th Middle School Readiness Academy that makes learning more fun, and it also is why NJB is special to me. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Larry Abeda, and I'm a proud NJB scholar. I'm here to say how NJB has taught me many important life skills such as respect, pride, and honesty, in addition to educating me and my peers. NJB provides us a positive and healthy learning environment. We as scholars have helped build the school along the way. Even though I will be graduating, I hope NJB will continue to grow, and I look forward to seeing my younger siblings get the amazing opportunity to be NJB scholars. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Jimenez, and I am a 6th grader at New Joseph Bonheim. Some reasons why I think New Joseph Bonheim is unique is because there is really amazing after-school programs such as 4-H, where it teaches students how to learn amazing skills such as crochet, cooking, sewing, electricity, and gardening. They also have a Nature Bowl club, which teaches students about wildlife and the ecosystem. Another reason why I think NJB is unique is because it has an after-school program for students, and it allows my mom to work full-time and provide for our family. Another reason why I think NJB is unique is because it teaches us about amazing things about agriculture, farming, and gardening, such as growing plants and taking care of our chickens. These are some of many reasons why I think New Joseph Bonheim is unique. Thank you and have a nice evening.
Hi, my name is Miani Marshall, and I am a 4th grader at NJB. I like my school because it teaches me life skills such as kindness, caring, courage, patience, and responsibility. Life skills help me become a better person so I can become a good adult. I learned from great teachers. I go on agricultural field trip. I do dance, and I'm part of the 4-H program. I love 4-H because they teach me new things every Tuesday and Thursday. I do sewing, crocheting, gardening, and we are raising baby chickens. NJB is an important part of my life. I've been at NJB for almost 3 years and have learned a lot. Please do your part to make sure NJB can continue helping me grow. Thank you.
Now for the grown-ups. Good evening, Superintendent Aguilar and President Darrell Wool, Mrs. Pritchett, Mrs. Vang, and Mrs. Garcia, and Mrs. Lisa. Michael Minik. I remember Mrs. Vang, I remember when they closed the schools down about 5 years ago, we used to be out there marching on the streets and all that. And there's a couple of still the board members left that I remember from Mrs. Pritchett, Mr. Wu. But anyway, my name's Arthur Aleman, one of the founders of the school. Me and myself and a couple of other members, we were the original founders of that school when it first closed down. But it's been a long up and down 5 years, and it's been an amazing 5 years. I'm just real honored to really be here and say that we have come this far in 5 years. You know, we started rough and without no principal for the first year until it took us a year to find the right fit, and we found it in Mrs. Artman. And I'm just so thrilled and really looking forward to the future that we'll grow into that school that we really wanna be the model school. And I just hope that you guys really take the time and consider us and support our goals. And thank you for this evening, and have a good night. Okay.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Victor Garcia. This is my wife, Lupe Garcia, my son, Paul. My son, Paul, is a student here at New Joseph Bonheim, and I want to be here to help support the renewing of the charter. We've been a member of this school for the past 4 years, and I can say nothing but top excellence from the staff, from Ms. Artman, all the way down to the clerical staff, the custodians, the founders, Mr. Aliman, and everyone that had to be there to work there to put so much effort and passion into what they do within the community and the school and the children. There's nothing more I can say. It touches my heart seeing all the children that came up here that was able to talk about what they love about our school. And that right there, it hits me, it hits home. I'm trying not to be choked up about it, but those are our future. And I look at those kids that coming up here and the children, and they're speaking on behalf of the community, and that is our future. And you know what? We are a community. So I'm a very proud member, proud of the community, as well as a proud parent that my son's going to go to such an excellent school. So I want to thank you for the consideration of the renewal of the charter, and I look forward to being a part of this community for many, many years. Thank you for your hard work.
Good evening. I'm Bruce Brummett. I'm with the 4-H club, project leader for the 4-H. This is also...
I'm Tony Banuelos. I'm also in charge of the agricultural program and one of the 4-H leaders.
Everybody asks what is 4-H, and it's head, heart, hands, and health. And that's, it's been kind of a start from like 4 or 5 years ago. We started it, and we have two 4-H programs actually. One for the fourth through sixth grade, and we also have another one that is for the kinder through second grade or third grade sometimes, and it's called the YES program, which stands for Youth Experience in Science. Right now, we currently have about 32 scholars that we have in different phases of the 4-H. We have several, like when I was in high school, we didn't have, we had shop. We had, we had auto shop, we had wood shop, metal shop. What did you have in high school?
We had home economics, we had art, we had business machines. We don't have that now.
So we think we're filling that gap at a fraction of the cost that we would have for a teacher to have these kind of classes. And there's kind of stuff that, we're getting them ready for high school. Can you talk on the agricultural part first?
So I run the agricultural portion of the school, and we have, every class comes out twice a week, and everything is hands-on. They're learning about composting, worm bin. They plant our seeds, we put them in the greenhouse, they nurture them to the time that they go into the ground, and then they nurture them from the ground to harvest, and then everybody has a taste. So it's an excellent program for our children.
We've also been on a camping trip, overnight camping trip that the 4-H club, picked us to go, and I think we brought about 25 students with us for overnight camping up in the mountains. Some of the kids had never even been camping before, so it was really great experience for them. The 4-H program includes sewing, crochet, electricity, arts and crafts, cooking, gardening, and they were able to showcase some of their projects this month at a presentation. It's called Presentation Day, which usually is at the Rosemont High School campus. There's also, well, I don't know if, I guess what we're doing now, which is what I brought this box up here for, and I promise you it's not a chicken, okay? There's no chicken in here. That's what the kids were asking me now. So this is our latest project through the SMUD. I took a class at the SMUD Energy and Education Technical Center, and we got a bunch of stuff to build this nice solar-powered. It's kind of just in the first stage here, but this will roll in the sunlight, not in here, but it's like they're learning about renewable energy, how to build different types of solar equipment, and this also will get them ready for middle school. So it's a perfect way to get them ready to know a lot about how to do hands-on work. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Teresa Blue, and I am a proud parent of a scholar at NJB. And I didn't come with a letter or anything. I just wanted to state that my daughter has been in child development classes since she was 2.5 years old. And unfortunately, she lost her dad at a very early age. So we've had to change schools a few different times. And we came to NJB, and Miss Artman, our principal, is on the campus every day. She greets the children every day. Every one of these teachers are very involved with the students. Each student feels very important. And a lot of the times, me as a single mother now, I have to work 3 jobs. They have an after-school program that helps me to continue to provide for my child. I have a bond and a relationship with every teacher and the principal and the after-school program, the PTA, and it makes you feel like a family, like I'm leaving my daughter with my brother or my sister, and we have the same values as we have at home. They teach how to respect each other, to respect themselves, and that's the main goal for us, for my family, is for her to grow up and to not be a victim. We had to move schools multiple times due to bullying, and at this school, there is absolutely a 0 tolerance with bullying. Miss Artman, this lady right here, she will stop whatever's happening and will talk and address the situation, and is teaching these children how to have the tools to be successful adults and to work out problems, because there is sometimes that we don't always get along, or there's a disagreement, or there's always 2 sides to a story. But she sits down and she literally listens to these children and gives them that opportunity to be heard, and to also how to solve it themselves. So what are we gonna do to make this better for yourselves? Because we all have to go here, we all have to live here. And for me, that is the most important thing. And so I just wanna say thank you, and thank you, Ms. Artman, for being such an amazing principal, because without her and this amazing staff and the PTA, I don't know where my daughter and I would be today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Quinn Hoffman. How you doing tonight?
Well, thank you.
Good. I'm a parent of 2 New Joseph Bonheim scholars, Eleanor, who's in kindergarten, Alice, who's in 4th grade back there, putting her hood over her head probably, but anyway, it's a parent's job, right, to embarrass their kids. But anyway, I'm here just to basically tell you from my perspective, without getting too choked up, this has been a good fit for our kids and our family. So we came from another school within district. We've been here about a year now, and I would have to say it's like a family. So my kids are happy, we're happy. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm going to take like 9. No, I'm kidding. My name is Celia Coronado. This is Isabella. She is a kinder here at NJB. We are new to the school this year. And I have to tell you, I have been a parent in Sacramento City Unified for a number of years. I have a 26-year-old and a 22-year-old. We stumbled across this one. So we're starting over. When I was a parent all those years ago, I was the single parent on the PTA. I was the single parent representing our school in these meetings, in different subcommittee meetings. I was the only one. There was 0 parent involvement. It was me. And coming into this environment and this community has been incredible to see the dynamic, just the interaction between the parents, the staff, everybody from teachers. Janitorial staff knows my name. I walked in, they know my name. They know who I am. They know who I belong to. They watch out for my kid. They watch out for us. I've had surgery. Everybody knows. Are you okay? How's everything going? Family is an understatement. This one has thrived since she has been there. So when she walked in and they did the initial test, Mr. Campos can vouch for this, the look on my face was like, what do you mean she doesn't know all of her ABCs? She can sing them. She doesn't know them. Doesn't matter if you can sing them. Within the first week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I cried because she came home. She could read. She was learning to write. It was incredible. And it doesn't just start with Mr. Campos. That after-school program continues it. They continue it on. I am thrilled to be a part of this school and would appreciate and thank you all for your consideration as you move forward in reviewing this charter. It's a benefit to this community and to all of our little ones. So thank you.
Thank you. Barrios, are there any more public comment?
No more public comment.
Thank you. With that, I will, before I close the public hearing, I want to note for the record that when asked how many of the audience was in support of new Joseph Bonheim, I will note for the record that greater than 3/4 of the room stood up. So I just want to note that for the record. With that, I will close the hearing and take comments from my colleagues. The first person to speak is Daryl Wu.
I'm sitting in your seat. I'm not Daryl Wu. I'm Christina Pritchett, and I'm sitting in his seat tonight. So I just want to say, wow, like teaching these kids to be advocates, that's so unusual. Like usually we have a lot of adults that come forth, and you had so many kids that came forth. That's just simply amazing. I was on the board when we closed New Joseph Bonheim, and it was heartbreaking. And prior to me joining the board, I was a parent advocate. I was a PTA president for 7 years before being on the board. I knew the importance of parent advocacy. I remember meeting with your original steering committee, and to see that this wasn't your normal charter. This was a charter that was parent and community driven. And yes, Mr. Alleman, you're correct. It did have some bumpy roads. But boy, have you guys shown us. I'll tell you, you guys have taken a school and you're almost like a phoenix rising from the ashes. Simply amazing with the work that you have done. It's really a testament to the hard work that all of you, each and every single one of you, even the students out there, that you have put forth on this. And giving them such a wonderful learning environment. And did you say that you're a PTA president and a teacher? Do you know how unusual that is? Good for you. Well, I just want to say, congratulations on the work that you have done. I'm just in awe right now, and I look forward to supporting New Joseph Bonheim when you come back on March 21st.
Thank you. Member Minik, or Vice President Minik.
Thank you, Mr. Wu, Vice President Wu. And thank you, Member Pritchett, for your words. I want to say just how proud I am to represent this school on this board. Like, you folks are amazing. And, you know, as I think back in, I think it was 2013 or so, long before we sat up here on this dais, Member Garcia and I were on a committee to look at the schools that had recently closed down and looked at what are the options to be used for these schools. And Assistant Superintendent Mary Harden Young in the back was on that committee as well. And I remember that day of the public meeting at what was the closed Joseph Bonheim School, or the old Joseph Bonheim School, and having a sea of families come into that meeting. I remember that was our biggest meeting by far, and the energy to reopen this school with something new and innovative was exciting. And, you know, I was skeptical when it moved forward. And every time that I'm on that site, I see something new and exciting that, you know, gets me, you know, thrilled. You know, whether it's the amphitheater, the outdoor classroom, the collection of the rainwater that I see in the barrel. You know, kids in our neighborhood don't get a lot of access to learning about agriculture. I know my kids didn't, and I don't really think about it. And so this is an opportunity that kids in many parts of our community don't get to see. But when I see that relationship with the staff and the kids and the parents, and how you're all working together to create this brand new thing, and I think about where you were at 4 years ago and how much has changed at that school and how incredible it is. I'm just so proud of how far you've gotten. And I want to thank Principal Wells Artman for all your work in leading this school, and it's been incredible. So thank you, and thank you all for speaking. I know sometimes these meetings run long, but I really appreciated every person that spoke tonight, so thank you.
So that is all the speakers I have, and no more comments from my colleagues. So thank you for your comments, and we look forward for your return on March 21st. And I thank everybody who came out in support of NJB. Moving on to item 10.1, California School Dashboard Update. Mr. Harris, Ms. Morrison. While you get set up.
I'll help you.
I'll be back.
We're here.
I'm here to help. Good job on you too.
Power's getting to my head. Well, thanks for. Welcome.
Good evening, Vice President Minik, Board members, and Superintendent Aguilar. As we start our presentation tonight, we actually wanted to share a resource that the state of California has describing the dashboard. It's a relatively...
Welcome to the California School Dashboard. Let the conversations begin.
How many students graduated on time at my son's high school?
If we could ask folks who are exiting the room to please keep your voices to a low hum while the next presenter is up. Thank you very much. And now listening to me.
Finally got to you.
I know.
Finally get the
I've been waiting for this moment.
How about the gavel?
I'm going to change the order, by the way. I'm taking a couple things off of consent.
You're not on right now. You should be like adjournment now and move everything to the next meeting. Gerald.
Fair enough.
We're finished. I think we can watch the video. Yeah, we can hear it.
To the California School Dashboard. Let the conversations begin.
How many students graduated on time at my son's high school?
Are students learning what they need to in English and math?
What's our district doing to get more parents and families engaged in real ways?
The California School Dashboard is the place you can get more information about each of these questions and more. The dashboard helps us all, parents, families, students, teachers, see how well our schools and students are doing and where improvement is needed.
I heard fewer students got suspended last year. Is that true?
What's my district doing to make sure students and teachers feel safe?
Think of the dashboard as the ultimate conversation starter. The information helps us talk to each other and with teachers and school leaders about what actually is going on in our schools. It helps us think about what additional questions we want to ask and where to find those answers.
Like what programs are working well in our district?
Or what's being done to help students who are falling behind?
Or which schools need more attention?
Right. The dashboard provides information that helps us have more informed conversations that lead to better planning and better results for kids.
Plus, it's an important way to hold our schools accountable, to see if they're making progress over time.
That seems like a lot to ask.
It is. But the future success of all our kids and our state depends on how well our schools are doing. It all starts with looking up your schools and learning more.
So start looking.
And let the conversations begin.
You can find more information about the California School Dashboard at www.caschool-dashboard.org. This video was produced for the California Department of Education by Californians dedicated to Education Foundation.
Right. Well, good evening, Vice President Minik. Good evening, Vice President Minik, board members, and Superintendent Aguilar. My name is Vincent Harris, Chief Continuous Improvement and Accountability Officer. I'm joined this evening with Kathy Morrison, who's our LCAP and SIPSA coordinator. We're pleased tonight to share with you the California School Dashboard. This presentation will have a combination of building upon what you just saw in the video in terms of description about the dashboard itself, opportunities to talk about our student performance, in terms of one of the key goals of the dashboard being a way to see the system, and then also talk briefly with you about ways in which the dashboard is used to drive state-level accountability conversations and actually district conversations as well about performance. Ultimately, the dashboard we really see as a vital tool, along with our Performance and Targeted Action Index, as a way to really bring together a number of the district's central processes. And so, for example, we have the site planning process or school planning process that's taking place right now. And then we have our local control and accountability plan, which is another important kind of system strategic planning process. And of course, we have the dashboard and our Performance and Targeted Action Index. Historically, these processes have run somewhat concurrently, but not necessarily together or integrated. And so our big goal and initiative is to really bring these together so that we use the dashboard and the power of the metrics that it has as a way to look at our work foundationally in terms of a district needs assessment, but also a needs assessment for all of our sites. And then ultimately bring that strategic vision together by having that integrated in our overall budgeting process, where all these important systems, all these important processes are fully integrated, where our budget is driven by district student need, and it shows up through our site planning process, our LCAP, and our budgeting priorities. You just saw a video tonight which gives an overview of the dashboard, and you'll definitely get more information over the next several slides in terms of how the dashboard is going to be used to drive district work. So in terms of the dashboard itself, there's lots of information, lots of summary points to make. In terms of bright spots, we've talked a bit about seeing the improvement in graduation rate in our college and career rate as well as the system. And you'll see through the various other points in terms of other bright spots, we've seen some reduction in performance in terms of seeing some improvements in chronic absenteeism on a relative basis and suspension on a relative basis. But I'll make the point that many of our bright spots are very incremental and certainly not substantial. And so as staff, we recognize the board has given us direction about being focused on how do we really change conditions in the present. And so when you look at the other side of that chart, the areas of opportunity, they are significant. In terms of our chronic absenteeism rate, is something that we've tackled as a system. You've heard a presentation on our early identification intervention system. So there is staff work happening right now to tackle that for the long run. And when we think about students in our system, making students visible, the state dashboard actually does make several student groups visible for us. And so we know there's work currently underway with our African American Achievement Task Force. We have focus on our special students with disabilities, our foster youth, recognizing that there's certain student populations we need to provide even greater targeted supports to. And then finally, as you think about the areas of opportunity, we've talked a little bit about behavior and suspension and chronic absenteeism. Then we also know just in terms of student performance in math and English language arts, it has been relatively flattened. So we need to focus on how to accelerate achievement there. So how's the dashboard used? And you heard a lot of these through the video, so I won't repeat them all here. But really, it does become that notion of a scorecard for our community to see performance. As I spoke to you previously in this presentation, it really is meant to be the foundation for our district and site needs assessment process. Actually, California, through the school planning process now, has mandated that the dashboard be part of our site needs assessment process. And then we'll hear a little bit more from Ms. Morrison in terms of how the state is using it as a way to identify districts and schools eligible for assistance. In terms of the dashboard itself, the state has been evolving it over time. And so this year presents a new look to it. Really the themes about the look is trying to make for more accessible language, better presentation. And so you'll see the gas gauge versus the pie that you saw previously, an attempt to use simpler language in describing things. In terms of this snapshot of the dashboard, you're looking specifically at our graduation rate result, which I mentioned previously was in green. And you can see it was an increase year over year. As you look at the bottom of that report, you see an equity report, which is really our student groups in terms of where they're landing specifically in terms of the graduation metric. And so you can see 5 were green, 3 yellow, 3 orange, and then 1 red, and that 1 red being our students with disabilities. And so this is another way that the state's reinforcing making students visible in terms of performance. This gives you a sense of how this work drives internal work in the system. So in a broad sense, the state is measuring graduation rate, which is incredibly important. And as we think about the work within Sacramento City Unified School District, this is our Performance and Action, Targeted Action Index, which provides a framing of how we think about graduation. So, and really A through G as well. There's this notion of really tracking those students who are on track, being focused on students staying on track, which is the retention rate as we work our way left to right. And then we start looking at 2, particularly with A through G, but also in graduation, off track to on track. This really speaks to the interventions required. So as we think about students who are already missing a milestone, not being on track anymore, at let's say going into 10th grade or going into 11th grade, this is a declaration for us to make those students visible so that our counseling team and our site teams can take action through credit recovery, through other resources to get those students back on track. And so then you'll see in the A through G performance element, we actually look for subject borderline on track, and then we look for the overall grade. In graduation, we actually tie directly back to the state dashboard. And that's why you see the yellow CA under graduation rate and then the yellow CA for college and career readiness. Again, making our data tie directly to the state, believing that if we make students visible in terms of looking at who's on track, sticking on track, and then when they go off track, make sure we identify those students as soon as possible, we're able to take intervention to hopefully increase our A through G rate and of course increase our graduation rate. In terms of the dashboard as well, there's been some other redesigns. They've added the chronic absenteeism indicator, college and career indicator. They've refined how 11th grade data is looked at in terms of focusing in on the academic measures, since that's the only tested grade for the SBAC in high school. And then they've focused the dashboard on really looking at district schools, so it excludes charter schools, both independent and dependent charters. And then, one thing, just as folks use the tools of the state, there's some various differences in some of the calculations. We use the historical tool of DataQuest versus the California State Dashboard, so we just want to make that visible as well. And then as we think about the crosswalk in terms of the work of looking at the state dashboard and also our district work, you'll see there's tight alignment between the state dashboard and our Performance and Targeted Action Index. And so for each of those that I shared with you for graduation and A through G completion, we have the same kind of 5-step kind of way of deconstructing impacts for chronic absenteeism, suspension, the SBAC results as well. At this point, I'll shift the presentation to Ms. Morrison. She'll take you a little bit deeper into some of the technical ways in which the dashboard helps us see the system even more deeply.
Thank you. Good evening, President Pro Tem Wu, board members, Superintendent Aguilar. I'm Kathy Morrison, the LCAP and SIPSA coordinator, here to give you a little more technical information. This is the back side of the dashboard, and briefly I want to demonstrate for you how the color ratings are determined. On the left column, you see a status. There are ratings from very high to very low. Each of these tables are different depending on the measure. Change is across the top, going from, on the right-hand side, the most positive increase significantly to decline significantly at the left. So the example I've highlighted is a school with a very high status, and typically that's the way we would look at schools in the past. However, this particular school declined and earned a yellow rating because of that decline. So the dashboard format now shows that we want to reward growth as well. Here's a school with medium status, yet they are increasing. They're moving things in the right direction, so they receive a green indicator. So this example just shows that we want to recognize that growth is as important in the state system as performance. This view is the landing page for our district. And what I highlighted in green are the local indicators for which our district does our own assessment and our own reporting. We provided this information to the board last fall that we've met all these standards. In red are the 6 state indicators that are included on this year's dashboard. Chronic absenteeism, which is students who have missed 10% or more of the school days. And all this data is for last year, 2017, 2018. We have suspension rate, graduation rate, which we've talked about, the college career indicator, which is a number of different components. And then the 2 academic measures are English, language arts, and mathematics, which provide results from the CASP spring testing in grades 3 through 8 and 11. I want to highlight that English learner progress did not receive a rating this year because the English language test changed, and there was no way to determine between the two if there was growth. At the top, I've highlighted more information and en español. A really big focus this year is that the whole dashboard is translated into Spanish. It's not Google Translate any longer, so it's very, very user-friendly for many of our families. Now, this table is a different view, and I just want to take kind of a deep moment and say this is our social justice view of what is happening for our student groups in the district. So at the left, we have the 13 groups that are described on the dashboard, and across the top are the different measures that we've just looked at on the landing page of the dashboard. So we see that foster youth have 5 red indicators, homeless 2, students with disabilities 4, African American students 4, American Indian 2, and our Pacific Islander students 3. So you see the headline, it says differentiated assistance. I just want to note that that is a state term. It's not a term that we use lightly, but within the state's system of support is identification of districts who have student groups that need some additional supports. And those are the groups that I've highlighted here. Differentiated assistance starts with our connection to the County Office of Education. Now this, please bear with me, this is really technical. I'll try to make it light. But the federal accountability, so the system of support that we saw in the last slide is state accountability. This is now federal under the Every Student Succeeds Act. And there are 2 initial identifications. One is called comprehensive support and improvement. This rating will identify the lowest 5% of our Title I schools and high schools with an average graduation rate below 67%. The next identification is called additional targeted support and improvement. And this rating looks at the student groups at individual schools who have been low performing over 2 consecutive years. And the criteria for both of these is from the California School Dashboard. So it goes in order, starting with all red, but one of any other color, all red and orange, and then if a school has 5 or more indicators where the majority are red. And what we just learned this year is that the SIPSA, or the School Plan for Student Improvement, is the document that our schools will use to identify how they plan to support their students. And finally, this is a graphic that shows the integration of the dashboard in both the state side, which is the eligibility for the differentiated assistance on the left, school improvement from the federal side on the right, all coming together through the LCAP with that connection to the SIPSA. So as we see the school plan for student achievement with the new improvement plans will be informed by the dashboard. They'll be using a state template, and the information from the SIPSA gets rolled up to the LCAP. So again, this is very new. We are just beginning to receive guidance from the California Department of Education. And with this, we will take a pause. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Barrios, do we have any public comment?
Yes, we have a public comment from Liz Guillen.
Good evening, board members, superintendent. Liz Guillen with Public Advocates. I really appreciate the presentation around the dashboard, and I appreciate very much the transparency around the student groups that need the most support. As Kathy said, the state has just released the list of schools that require comprehensive support. And Sac City has 11 of them, according to our review of the list. And but that means that the district will get federal funding, specifically to focus on these schools, about $166,000 per school for $1.16 million total. Now, those funds are limited to one-time spending, and they're intended to have long-term impacts, which is really hard, right? But examples might include professional development for English language teachers or other focus areas, time for collaboration of school teams, consultants to help shift the culture around engagement. Clearly, with the requirement that the plans for improvement are now to be the SIPSA, resources to having those be meaningful and engagement so that everyone at the site understands what needs to happen and that there is a focus on some of the changes as opposed to using the funds to keep doing what has been done. I really encourage that. I know that Kathy's going to be working on school site council. We've been doing that for a while now. So my suggestion to all parents and families who are in those schools, and I know that the district will notify them, I hope, is to really get involved and try to make things different around school site council at your school. Thank you.
Thank you. No further public comment? Do I have any comments from my colleagues? I have a couple questions, seeing that I don't have any waiting to speak. Member Morosky.
Thank you, Vice President Wu. I was just hoping to hear a little more detail about, and I think Liz mentioned a couple of examples of what that assistance can look like, just to kind of put a little more meat on the bones about what will happen at the school site, and will it really be decided by the SIPSA?
I mean, definitely, and there's kind of two points of intervention, as Ms. Morrison mentioned. One point of intervention is with the district level So we've been working with the Sacramento County Office of Education, and specifically on January 24th, we had our first planning session with them looking at our district data in terms of identifying areas for support using the dashboard. And so chronic absenteeism is one area where the county is going to offer some support for us and helping us continue a deeper dive, and then also linking it to work that we already have underway in the district. And then also site teams will make the decision ultimately about what will be targeted. So in answering your question, there's a little bit of local context that will play a role in what focus on, but it will within the context of the dashboard measures. So what Ms. Guillen spoke to actually are potentially some of the ways in which it will show up in plans, whether it be professional learning or a specific resource they use in terms of a coaching model. But it will be in very much engaged with site decision-making, site-level input.
And would we give like a menu of options or recommendations as to, if you have a certain level of achievement or certain indicators to work on, these are the interventions we'd recommend, or what support do we offer?
Oh, absolutely. And so, certainly there'll be evidence-based. We actually have a school site council website where we actually bring links to evidence-based type resources. So definitely that is a resource to sites to utilize in making their decisions, along with practices that they're aware of themselves.
Thank you, Member Morosky. Member Garcia.
Yes, thank you. Am I on? I am. I served on the school site council at my daughter's school for 3 years, so I'm just curious to know what the outreach is going to look like from the district to the school site councils, and also any guidance that you're going to offer to the parents in terms of how to approach, especially in school sites where the need has clearly been established, and sort of how they may be able to have an impact on where those dollars are going to go, those additional dollars, and really thinking about how can we do things differently, right? And how they work with the principal, and I mean, school site councils have teachers as well on them. So how they work together to talk about to have some of those conversations.
We definitely want to include all stakeholders in the decision-making for the comprehensive support and improvement schools. And as Mr. Harris said, the district's role is to frame the options, make sure that the evidence-based interventions and supports are put forward. We are definitely going to be working with our principals as the first information rolls out. It's very, very new to us still in terms of the guidance. And I anticipate that our state and federal department and family and community engagement will be working with the comprehensive support and improvement schools to organize town hall meetings, things like that, which was the procedure that we used under the former school improvement grant. Does that answer the question? Yes. Okay.
Thank you. I have a few questions. As the SIPSA feeds into the LCAP, which together will feed into the budget, which we are set to adopt sometime in June for the 19-20 fiscal year, will the SIPSA, as they identify their alternatives and options, also work towards or try to identify what results they hope to see with this one-time spending? Because under the LCAP, remember, we get certain funds. They're supposed to target where it's going to be spent and identify what improvements they expect to see based on those expenditures. How will that be done in the SIPSA?
I mean, ultimately, the SIPSA template, as Ms. Morrison described, actually includes measurable outcomes. And so ultimately, those outcomes are a part of completing your SIPSA. So they'll be identified. As a district, we're working on a process of building a capacity around monitoring so that we can be in a place to explain whether it's one-time funds, recurring funds, what is happening and how's it happening, and take steps thereafter. And just to your question, Board Member, we actually, with work with the Budget Office, have actually asked sites to be even more specific about their staffing, linking it back to dashboard measures, just to be in a position to better able to discuss this type of staffing is meant to move chronic absenteeism or suspension. so that we can have exactly the fidelity conversation of we're making decisions very intentional to move dashboard indicators.
And in addition to trying to reduce chronic absenteeism, they also identify a target of maybe improve attendance by 5%, or reduce
Targets
chronic
are part of
absenteeism by 5%
exactly.
or something like that.
Exactly.
A couple other questions. When you on slide 11, you spoke about Every Student Succeeds Act identification, I think it was. And I was wondering, how is this identification different from a differentiated assistance? I'm trying to get the connection between them.
You want me to try? So previously, under the federal system, it was called No Child Left Behind, which was more punitive and put many restrictions on schools, and there was a lot of outreach to parents like, you don't want to send your child to this school, we're going to provide transportation if you'd like to change. So under the Every Student Succeeds Act, it's identifying the schools, but putting the focus on local support and kind of giving the district the empowerment to leverage our local context. We know what works here for our students, and we, through this new ESSA identification, the reporting for the CSI schools, the burden is on the district to monitor the plans and include that they ensure that they are being implemented effectively. So differentiated assistance comes from the state side, and that identifies just student groups at the district level. So it's across the whole system, district level support, whereas the federal points to school improvement, to individual schools.
And if I might add, probably the biggest difference I would say in a very somewhat oversimplified, but I think it's important, is this notion of improvement really being the leading tip of spear. And so even our sessions with the Sacramento County Office of Education, the notion of accountability is really flipped to this notion of you have the resources to some degree, but you actually have the expertise and use research-based practice to get better. And so there's almost a mindset element of it that's actually refreshing to some degree, because there's really a belief that staffs, teachers, administrators can make those solutions happen. And so there's an orientation and a bend to say, we're not going to say what you're doing wrong, but we're actually going to push you to say, what can you do better? What can you do right? And so, in some respects that seems esoteric, but it really is an important mindset shift because it really puts the onus of you have the answers and we just got to help you cultivate those.
And I'm glad that, Kathy, you mentioned student groups. I have a couple more questions. And might we be expecting sometime in the future color rating for our English language, English learner population?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, really, this year is the only year you're not going to see color for English learner students because it's a baseline year. But definitely going forward this time next year when we have the presentation, you'll see a coloration in terms of change in status.
And my last question is, are we able to leverage any of the work already underway with the African American Achievement Task Force?
Absolutely. The board will be getting a formal presentation at the February 21st meeting in terms of the first set of recommendations from the African American Achievement Task Force. And many of those recommendations directly tie to dashboard indicators in terms of things that the task force has identified as it relates particularly to school climate. So things around suspension, chronic absenteeism, but also academic achievement as well. And so in the presentation you'll see next board meeting, you definitely will see a connectivity between solutions and proposals that are directly meant to change conditions for African American students, but frankly for all of our students.
Excellent. Thank you. That was an information item, the California School Dashboard Update. And now we have the Fiscal Recovery Plan, Dr. Quinto. This is also an information item. I suspect that this is why we have a packed house this evening, so we put the best for last. So we're all anxious to see what the recovery plan is.
Good evening, Vice President Wu, board members, superintendent. It'll be quick. Fiscal recovery plan overview. What I'd like to cover tonight is the formal budget process and certification review, our multi-year projections, the negative certification implications, and then the steps needed for fiscal solvency. So we covered this previously in December, but I think it's worth educating the public on the formal budget process brought along by AB 1200. First, we adopt a budget in July. First interim comes out, it ends October 31st, presented to the board in December. Second interim ends July 31st, presented to the board in March. This year, we'll be having a third interim due to our negative certification, and it'll end April 30th, presented to the board in May. Certifications, there's three. The first one being positive. That means you will meet your financial obligations for this and the subsequent 2 fiscal years. The qualified certification means you may not meet your financial obligations for the current fiscal year or subsequent 2 fiscal years. The negative certification is that we will be unable to meet our financial obligation for this year or for the next subsequent fiscal year. So at our in December, I should say, 6th, when we presented to the board, we showed that our multi-year projection, that we were unable to meet our financial obligations in the subsequent year. You can see in the column 1920, we're running a $15.8 million shortfall. 2021, that would be $66.7 million. This being a 1+2 year look, one of the things that we like to do, and I'd like to thank our fiscal advisor, Ms. Ryland, for helping us with this. I'd like to look at this year plus 3 years. It gives us a longer lookout. Thus, when we look at our fiscal recovery plan, which will include identifying reductions such as negotiable items, proper staffing for enrollment drops, balancing programs like early childhood education that require contributions, we can see the deficit spending over time. We actually started deficit spending as a district in 17-18, right around $11 or $12 million. That's carried over since the 18-19. I can call your attention to the red line. You'll see the deficit spending over time for the next 4 years. So one of the things I wanted to bring out is what's causing that. Future revenues simply are just not able to keep up with our expenses. As you look at 1920, we're getting about $9 million, but you see our expenses in special education, supporting our students with special needs, step and column, STIRS and PERS, and health benefits. The expenses are just outpacing what we're getting. I think Ian said earlier, to dovetail on what he said, the revenue side of the house is not keeping up with our expenses. You can see that in both years. So going back to the deficit spending, that's a big contribution to that. So looking out 1+3 years, here you have a 3-year projection, but we're wanting to look out further. What does that mean to us in 21-22? Because I think that's important to understand your fiscal recovery plan further, further than just 2 years out. So what's that do to our cash balance? We're still slated to run out of cash, the ability to pay payroll in November of 2019. So what is the negative certification implications? Actually, we self-certify. What happens at the county is they either approve it or they adjust you. So we knew we were not going to meet our financial obligations for the remainder, actually for the subsequent fiscal year. And so we certified ourselves negative and submitted the budget to SCOE. Because of the negative certification and the not adopting our budget, we've been appointed a fiscal advisor. That's Ms. Ryland, who I'd like to thank you, ma'am, for all your countless time and effort. SCOE has the stay and rescind authorization. So what that means is there's things that come to the board, any increases that they see that is improper, they can rescind that. What we must do is develop a fiscal recovery plan for fiscal solvency and present that, recommended to the superintendent, present that to the board for adoption on March 7th. So the steps we need for fiscal solvency begin with negotiations immediately with all our labor partners. Labor partners will be sunshining their proposals tonight. One of the things that I watch weekly is our cash flow. There's a difference between budget and cash flow. And every Friday, I get an update of just how much money is there. On February 21st, our next board meeting, that meeting will include resolutions for reduction in particular kinds of services and programs. We will continue to assess the need for filling vacant positions. We will continue to work on our weekly purchase committee, looking at purchase orders, reducing or canceling unnecessary spending. We will continue our weekly budget meetings with Sacramento County Office of Education. But most importantly, we look forward to submitting to the board and recommending a fiscal recovery plan on March 7th.
Thank you. Mr. Barrios, do we have any public comment?
Yes, we have a public comment from Liz Guillen.
Ms. Guillen.
Sorry, I'm such a blabbermouth tonight. Hi, Liz Guillen with Public Advocates. This may not be the appropriate item, but because Mr. Quinto had, Dr. Quinto had referenced the fact that the negotiations were going to be a process by which some reductions would be made or identified. It seems really important that the item later around the initial proposals be at least lifted up for the public. And I didn't see any handouts about any initial proposals. And so I really want to encourage you to share with the public, what does it really mean if you're, quote, sunshining? And in other words, if you're going to talk about reductions coming up at a future meeting, how will we know what you considered as it relates to negotiations? Because the initial proposals for those are supposed to happen tonight. So I hope that's clear, because I'm not clear on it.
In answer to that, we need to start the process and inform the public of our intention. So we had sunshine previously. We also here to inform you and the public that we are going down the path of a fiscal recovery plan and our intentions.
Trustee Morosky.
Thank you, Vice President Wu. Thank you, Dr. Quinto. I would like, if you could just go back to slide 6.
You have to turn on your mic. Red
Oh,
button.
it's on. Can you hear? Yeah? Oh, it was glowing. Okay. So I think it would be helpful for you to go over what the bottom section means and what you're looking at in terms of ongoing savings and how that sort of when you achieve savings depends on how much savings you achieve and the impact of the staggering of the years. And maybe if you could just explain what that represents.
Sure, Member Morosky. The bottom is a worksheet that if let's say in 1920, we were able to reduce $15.8 million. you'll see that go to the next line and then the next line, thus reducing your shortfall. So once you reduce in 1 year, that reduction continues forward. So this worksheet is a presentation of whatever we show in 1920 as a reduction is going to carry forward. Whatever we show in a reduction in 2021 will carry forward to 21-22, and then in 21-22, so forward. So depending on the outcomes of reduction in force, looking at programs, we will populate those and look forward to bringing those back as to where we're at in the process.
I have one more question. I've been getting some questions from the public around, the governor's budget was pretty good to education, and why are we still in a hole, or why did that solve our problem? So maybe if you could just speak to that quickly.
Absolutely. The governor's, the two big highlights there was COLA was raised to 3.46%. That did see an increase for us. Stiers and PERS was a big help. We're going to see a decrease in our Stiers and PERS contribution of about $2 million, 1.7 if you want to get exact, for the next 2 years, 1920 and 2021. But it doesn't, the $3 million or so that we get, and we also have to keep in mind we're in a declining enrollment. So we're standing to lose some 200 plus students. So as our revenue is decreasing, we're seeing some additional revenues and decrease in expenses with Stiers and PERS, well, Stiers so far. And so the impact to us is actually helping us with our bottom line and not making it so bad. Is that?
Yeah, so the bottom line is a little bit of help, but not that much.
It's a little, for next year, we're looking at $15.9 million or $8 million, and we're going to get about $3 or $4 million worth of help. There's a huge delta still.
Okay. Member Vang?
Vice President Wu. Thank you, Dr. Quinto, for your presentation. So I know that, for our board, we're going to have a lot of difficult work ahead to find really a path to fiscal solvency. And I have some questions regarding slide 11 on the steps that's needed. In particular, on bullet number 3, it says, during our February 21st meeting, a resolution for reduction in particular kinds of services and programs is going to be presented at the board. And I kind of wanted you to speak a little bit on this in terms of how staff is working on this to bring this to the board. So what exactly is going to happen on February 21st with this resolution? Because it said that there's going to be a reduction in particular kinds of services and programs, and how are we determining that? How is staff determining that?
Thank you for the question. Currently, we're going through what we call one stop. And so we are sitting down with each of the division leaders and sites and evaluating all the programs that we have, including sites with enrollment. So we have decreasing enrollment, for example, at certain sites. So we are going through the process of ensuring that we are right sizing to whatever the ed code compliance are, and then also to our collective bargaining agreement, holding those two together. And then whatever comes through that process, we are, per FCMAT recommendations, going through an audit process, documenting all of those and submitting those. So we will be bringing forward the conclusion or the outcome of our one-stops.
I know when we're talking about, steps to fiscal solvency, I think, we understand that there's going to be a tough decision that's going to have to be made in terms of reduction. I think what I would also like to see is the type of investments that we've made in this district that I think has a long-term return on investments, right? I think that's also important for the public and the community to know. Oftentimes, we always talk about reduction, obviously, to meet the deficit, but I do think that this district has also done some really great investments in programs, and I think we also need to share that as well and talk about the return on investments on programs that we have invested in. And so that's something that I would like, perhaps at the next board meeting, because I think when we talk about reaching solvency, right, we're always talking about reductions. It's also important to talk about the type of investment that we've made, because that also can save us money in the long run as well. So that's my recommendation.
Thank you, Member Vang.
Thank you, Member Vang. Any other comments or questions? Thank you, Dr. Quinto.
Thank you, sir.
That brings us to item 11, the consent agenda. I have a motion. I have a second. All those in favor signify by saying, student preferential vote.
I vote yes on all open session items.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Oppose? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to item 12.1, Employee Organization Reports, SCTA.
Good evening. David Fisher, President of the Sacramento City Teachers
Before you
Association.
start, I understand you have requested for 15 minutes?
No, so our contract, just to clarify, says that we have up to 15 minutes. I'm not requesting 15 minutes if this won't take more than 3 or 4.
Okay.
But we just gave the Director of Human Resources, just so the board knew that our mutual contract says that SCTA's gets up to 15 minutes. Don't worry, I won't take near that much.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher,
Sure.
for that clarification.
Sure. Anyway, like I said, I'm David Fisher, President of the Sacramento City Teachers Association. Before I start my prepared remarks, just like to comment on a couple things happened earlier. First of all, Board Member Garcia, appreciate your comments about the Language Academy and about what we can offer at our district. We've had some conversations about that. As an educator who happens to be bilingual and raising bilingual children, we see how important that is. There's a big waiting list there. This could be a way that we could help encourage enrollment. And also on the New Joseph Bonheim, my school was closed that same year. Disastrous decision that chased out hundreds and hundreds of families and cost millions of dollars in our district. But I'm glad to see New Joseph Bonheim thriving. We, partnered with Senor Aleman and other parents to, help their charter. So I'm glad to see that is happening there. But to my prepared remarks. On January 6, 2019, Sac City Chief Communications Officer Alex Barrios told the Sacramento Bee, quote, "It is our responsibility to taxpayers, families, and students to make sure activities and employee behavior is proper," end quote. At the time, Mr. Barrios was talking about the teachers at McClatchy who were unjustifiably accused of leading a student walkout. But doesn't that same standard apply when concerns are raised about conflicts of interest and the potential misallocation of resources concerning district administrators? On what basis did Board President Ryan dismiss her claims as meritless with no proper investigation of her concerns has even occurred? With the FICMAC documenting the district's fiscal mismanagement, isn't it incumbent on this board to provide the greatest amount of light and transparency possible when these serious concerns are raised, especially considered the budget situation? Why should any parent, student, or taxpayer have confidence in those who react in a knee-jerk fashion before any investigation or research has even taken place, rather than encourage pursuit of the truth? We would ask you to support and not resist our request to have State Superintendent Tony Thurman do a investigation and conduct a comprehensive audit. On another matter, and to no one's surprise, we won a significant victory yesterday, this time in Sacramento Superior Court, where a judge granted our motion to compel arbitration over the superintendent's refusal to honor his contractual commitment to implement the jointly agreed upon salary schedule restructuring. So I was in the gallery and particularly noted that the judge stated that his decision, and I quote, is not even a close call, end quote. Earlier today, we requested to know exactly how many thousands of dollars that the district wasted on this frivolous and, might I say, meritless lawsuit. You should request that amount too. While we think the best course of action is, of course, for the district to simply honor the agreement, the next best would be for us to move forward to arbitration, which should have happened months ago. The arbitrator is selected, and earlier today, our attorney accepted the dates of March 7th and 8th from arbitrator Perea. We hope the district stops any obstruction and moves forward into accepting those dates with us. Finally, I think you have it now. We're presenting you, consistent with the terms of our collective bargaining agreement, our initial sunshine proposal to the district. You will note that they are comprehensive. We look forward to negotiating a true intervention program and the implementation of restorative practices throughout the district, among other matters, including potentially a Spanish dual immersion program. You'll also note that in our proposals, particularly Article 12, compensation, Article 13, benefits, and Article 17, class size, that our ability to make proposals is greatly impeded by the district's refusal to implement the provisions of our current agreement. Accordingly, it is our belief that negotiations will be productive only when those matters are first resolved. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. SEIU? TCS? Teamsters? UPE? Moving on to item 12.2, District Parent Advisory Committees. Community Advisory Committee. District English Learner Advisory Committee. Local Control Accountability Plan Parent Advisory Committee. Long time no see.
I know. Seems like I'm here more often than when I was working here. Greetings, board members, Superintendent Aguilar. My name is Oswaldo Hernandez, as many of you know, and I am one of the members of the LCAP Advisory Committee. Can't speak anymore. Our last meeting, Dr. Quinto presented about the district budget and the deficit that is presenting at the current time. The committee has once again expressed their interest on having more direct communication with the board. This is something that I expressed when I was here a few months ago, and so it came up again. We also reviewed the list of priorities from last year, which you should have received via email, and I have copies with me if anyone would like those copies. I don't know if we can get them up there.
You can just hand it over there and they'll get copies to us.
So for those specifically, the committee would like to meet with you if possible or speak to you directly to see what are the top 3 priorities that you have for your area and bring those so that we can bring those back to the committee. The president for the DLAC was also in attendance at our last meeting, and she expressed that there's a high need for bilingual counselors and social workers. So we also wanted to bring that to your attention. I know DLAC is not here today, but they were at the meeting last time. The committee also would like to thank Board Member Bang for being in attendance at our last meeting. So that we are showing our appreciation because, as I mentioned before, we do want to make sure that we have that direct contact with you. And lastly, some of the committee members expressed some concern about the generic. Let me backtrack. The family survey is, how generic the family survey is, and that it does not include a specific about the perceptions of safety for our students. So that is what we've been working on, and that's it. Any questions?
I see no questions. Thank you, Oswaldo. That brings us to item 12.3, Superintendent's Report.
Thank you, Vice President Wu, and thank you everyone for being here this evening. I'm going to start with a few important announcements and then close with a brief statement on some thoughts about our challenges. Let me start with the first announcement, which is to let everyone know that our K-8 open enrollment started last week, or this week, I'm sorry. If you'd like to visit one of our K-8 school sites and see if it's a right fit for your student, please stop by one of our schools. I've started to do that for my own children as well. All of our elementary schools will be open for walkthroughs on the following dates and times. Wednesday, February 13th, 2019 from 9 to 3. Thursday, February 14th from 12 to 5. And Friday, February 15th from 9 to 11. Second, for families of high school seniors that plan on pursuing higher education next year but are looking for financial assistance, please visit our district scholarship page for a listing of scholarship opportunities. The web address for the scholarships is www.secusd.edu/scholarships. Our team is updating the site daily with new opportunities as they are submitted to us. And so please share them with anybody that you know might be interested. I'd also like to encourage our staff and students to participate in Random Acts of Kindness Week. In years past, students and staff have participated in this event by making kind gestures toward others that have included, for example, surprising fellow students with snacks or treats, as long as they abide by our wellness policy, of course. Raising money for a person or a cause, creating a third-party compliments box, or setting up a thank you note station in your school. Random Acts of Kindness Week is going to run from February 17th through the 23rd this year. Obviously, it's a great opportunity to focus on what unites us rather than what divides us. I'd love to see a large number of our staff participate this year in Random Acts of Kindness Week, and I'd encourage you to share your Random Acts of Kindness photos or videos on your social media pages and use the hashtag SEUSDKindness so we can see and share your posts on our social media outlets. On this note of focusing on unity, I do want to close with just a brief statement on where I think we stand with our school district right now. It's obviously not a secret. We will, as Member Vang made mention, have to make some very serious decisions that impact the next 2 years to balance the budget and avoid a state takeover. This is a huge challenge, and it will require some very difficult decisions on everyone's part. But I'm also very inspired. This morning, Member Morawski and I had the opportunity to be part of a funder circle of sort at Lia Tata Floyd, made up of a number of nonprofit organizations and foundations. The mayor was there, city council members were there, all trying to come together to understand how to better leverage human and capital resources to support our students at Lia Tata Floyd. And this was a sort of grassroots, grass tip effort that started there at Lia Tata Floyd. They received funding, they organized the event, and again, both Member Morawski and I were there to see just the power of partners coming together for the benefit of our neediest students throughout the school district. And so seeing that kind of unity happening in real time is exactly what we're going to need to continue moving forward. So I want to thank our board and our community members for being those types of partners as we navigate through very challenging times in the coming weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent. President's report. President Ryan is not here this evening, but I'll move on to student member Howell.
Just before I start, I want to preface this by saying that I added a couple things to this, and my handwriting is not always legible, so please bear with me. I've recently been involved in some really amazing conversations across campuses dealing with the topic of SROs, discrimination, and the school-to-prison pipeline, and I've been overwhelmed and impressed by both the breadth and depth of the conversations that we've been having. That being said, I had spoken with only 2 of the students who came up and talked tonight beforehand, and I was very impressed and also kind of surprised and taken aback by the true agency in their voices and stories of all who shared. Groups like Brown Issues, MECHA, and more are doing wonderful things on our campuses to encourage civic engagement, and those are programs that we should be investing in for our students. I went to the West Campus chapter of Brown Issues meeting to talk about SROs and also just in general to talk about student engagement in the district just yesterday, and those are the only two students who I had had any conversation with beforehand, and I wasn't even aware that they were coming, so it was a very interesting, maybe not interesting is the right word, but a wonderful thing to see students being involved in our district and coming on their own and having these discussions naturally at the district level. SAC facilitated one of the discussions that happened throughout the last couple weeks at West Campus with students from the West Campus WLA, from Hiram, Kennedy, Burbank, McClatchy, Carver, and New Tech. And this wasn't the discussion that one of the speakers, Hondo, mentioned. I didn't even know that discussion was happening either. So it's been wonderful to see that these things are coming organically from the students. And this conversation that we had dealt with our 4 main areas of focus: sleep deprivation, the dress code, and race and gender discrimination. But it ended up being a very deep and in-depth discussion about SROs and racial discrimination in general. These types of discussions are not only extremely beneficial for the students involved, but also truly necessary for the district to engage in, facilitate, and encourage in order to better understand the way that policy decisions the board and the district as a whole make impact students. The impacts that those decisions have on students should be our priority when evaluating the implications of a policy proposal. In a few months, SAC will be holding our elections for the following school year. I'm looking forward to see what the next year's council has in store. Applications for the student board member position will also be around at the same time. I will definitely be updating the board more on that as the time comes, and we have more chance to kind of fix the way that elections in the application system have happened in the past. And then this, I just wrote down because the superintendent mentioned the Random Act of Kindness Week, but that's one of my favorite weeks because West Campus definitely embraces that, and we do a lot of wonderful things that I think everyone can do just district-wide. And I don't actually think that I did this during Random Act of Kindness Week, but I have like a group of lockers where my locker was last year, and I made everyone a cookie and gave them a little note during finals that said, like, good luck on your finals. And those are the types of things that I see particularly at West Campus, but across our district, that I think we should always look into making sure that the little acts and things that students are doing are put out to the public, and the public sees the good along with the things that may need some work.
Thank you, student member Hobble.
Yes, yes.
I can use a cookie right now. Information sharing by board members. Is there anyone board member who would like to share? Seeing none, I will share. It's been a busy 3-4 weeks for me. For the first time in at least 4 or 5 years, I was able to walk in the MLK March. It's been a real, it was real torture for me just to make it here. But with my new hip, I was able to march the whole way, and I got in my 10,000 steps. So I was glad and I was happy that I was able to walk with my colleagues and my friends at the MLK March. The day before, I was down in Orange County for the API School Board Members Association board members retreat, the planning retreat for the following year. The following week, I was in Denver, January 25th and 26th for the Executive Committee of the Council on Great City Schools. And I will be this week, tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday at the Board of Directors meeting for the California School Board Association, followed by the Ledge and Policy Conference in Washington, D.C., March 16, 17, 18, and 19, where I hope to be visiting our congressional representatives and advocating for additional funding for our children, particularly for special ed. And then just in between my day job, I fill in for about a week out of every month, 3 full days of hearings on the Committee of Credentials. And just as a FYI, I do recuse myself when a certificated, a credentialed employee comes and they are from this school district. So I just wanted to let you know that that's what I've been doing the last couple days, last couple months. Item 12.7, information, Board Fiscal Transparency and Accountability Committee.
Thank you, Vice President Wu. Just excited to announce again that we will be kicking off the committee on February 14th from 6 to 7:30. Very happy to have a guest presentation from the Legislative Analyst's Office, which should be really informative about the fiscal context for California school districts and how we fit into that. We'll talk about the committee vision and mission and look over the publicly available budget documents as a first look, and also dive a little deeper into a district fiscal update. So hope all of you can join us.
Thank you.
I should announce also that our regular meeting time and day will be the second Thursday of the month. There is a lot to do and a lot to look at. So we've also scheduled a committee meeting for February 28th as well. Same time, 6 p.m. And that will be, it is on the website. I don't want to steer anyone wrong. It's not in this room. I believe it's Indiana, but it is a notice on
Indiana's on the other side of the cafeteria.
On the website. Yeah. Thank you.
Board Facilities Committee. Board Governance Committee.
Well, if your week is slow and you're already planning on going to the Fiscal Transparency Committee and you want to have another evening out, the night before, this coming Wednesday on the 13th, you can come to the Governance Committee, and we will also be in the Indiana room just on the other side of the cafeteria. So you can spend multiple evenings here at the district office. So I hope to see some folks.
Thank you. That was governance. Then policy.
The policy committee will be meeting on February 19th from 4 to 5:45, also in the Indiana room. Our committee is going to review and get a deeper dive and reviewing board policy as it relates to budget and expenditures. We're also going to be discussing a new board policy that we're working on in regards to law enforcement interaction with students on campus as well. So we invite the public and community members to join us. The policy committee will be meeting every third Thursdays of the month. My bad. Third Tuesday of the month. It's not that late yet. Okay. So February 19th. So hope you can all join us. Thank you. Yeah. It is the third Tuesday of the month. Except
for this month.
Yeah, except for this month, February 19th. Yeah. Thank you for the. I know, I saw that. Because he has to staff the meeting. That's why he was like, what? Okay.
Item 13, business and financial information reports. We are receiving business and financial information, the enrollment and attendance report for month 4 ending December 21st, 2018. Head Start, Early Head Start, and Early Head Start expansion reports. We're receiving the initial proposal from UPE, receiving the initial proposal from SCTA, receiving the initial proposal from SEIU, receiving the initial proposal for the Teamsters, and receiving the initial proposal from Teamsters Classified Supervisors. And those are all on the negotiations for reopeners.
Just on those items, first Vice President Wu. Oh, you didn't have your glasses on? Okay, we're good? Okay. On those items, we have received UPE's Sunshine Proposal, which is located on the back table, as well as SEIU's. You heard SCTA's. Just wanted to share that Teamsters and TCS have let us know that they will be sharing their Sunshine Proposal at the next board meeting on the 21st.
Thank you for that clarification. I think we have a public comment on this.
We have two public comments actually on 13.1 and 13.4.
Good evening, board members. I couldn't pass up one meeting without saying something, and I waited till the end. The
Best for
first one,
last.
I know. The first one was on the enrollment and attendance report, and I know that I've talked about that before because this is one of those where it is an issue, obviously, chronic absenteeism. And when I look at the report, there are 14 elementary schools that appear to be in pretty significant trouble. When I look at the middle schools, you have Kit Carson and Rosa Parks are significantly, almost a percentage point below what the average is. And then when you go to the high school, in particular, you have Hiram Johnson and Luther Burbank are a full 1.5 percentage points on the attendance rate below what the average is. Both of those are in the 92 percentage points, which is huge because at this rate, this is the first 4 months. It only gets worse. And especially, this does not include the Christmas break. So it's one of those issues, sort of like with the suspension, what's going to happen now? What's being done now? Because there needs to be that sense of urgency because these are schools and these are kids that are hurting now. And it's hard to say, oh, just wait, oh, we're waiting for this recommendation. Something needs to be done now. That was on the first one. And then on the other one was the 13.4, which was the sunshine proposal for SCTA. And the reason why, there were two things that obviously just happened. One, I guess you guys received the proposal from SCTA, but it's not in the back, and I did ask, so that one, it's not available to the public, and I know it's supposed to be. Thank you. I'll take that. And the other thing that I wanted to bring up, I am a member of the African American Task Force, and during that meeting, one of the things that we received from SCTA was a resolution that they passed, which I was a little uncomfortable receiving that during that task force because it appeared to me something that should have been shared with the board, and it seemed a little odd that it was shared with our task force, and I wasn't sure about how all of those proper protocols are being followed. So that was something that I just wanted to bring to the public's attention because it just felt very odd that we're in the middle of the meeting, we had no notice that this was coming, and during the meeting, kind of towards the end, all of a sudden something is being passed out, as though it was resolution on building cultural competency and challenging unconscious bias. And then it talks about they strongly support some things, and I'm not sure if that was shared with the board or not. It was just kind of odd. It felt very odd. So I just thought I'd bring, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll come get that.
I lost my agenda. That brings us to item 14, future board meeting dates and locations. February 21st at 4:30 closed session, 6 p.m. Open session here at CERNA. March 7th, same times, 4:30 closed session, 6 p.m. Open session here at CERNA. And with that, student member Halbo, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. I haven't sat here before.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn in a second. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for your patience with me. I made it.
You're a little rusty, though.
A little rusty, huh?
Hi, how are you?
How are you doing?
Good, good.
How you liking the new job?
Well. Yeah, it's just I think an unusual sort of time to, so, I mean, in terms of,
She's good in my absence.
yeah.
I had to yell at people to quiet down then because they were making.
Yeah, I didn't even my day job.